Pittsburgh as the Reds and the Pirates renew acquaintances. These two teams have not played one another since early May. This Pirate team, despite being swept over the weekend in D.C., come into this series with the best record in June in the National League. It's the Reds and the Pirates on Fox Sports Ohio. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Reds Baseball on this Bow Tie Tuesday. Jim Kelch along with Chris Welsh. Game one of a three-game get-together between these two ball clubs. And, Chris, we thought going into tonight we're going to see Johnny Cueto, who has dominated the Pirates throughout his career, go for his 19th win against them. But instead, we'll see a young man make his big league debut in Josh Smith.
Well, you're right. They're going to give Johnny Cueto a few extra days off. He had that elbow inflammation. They gave him a week off. He skipped the start. He came back. They never really thought that he got to 100%. So they're going to give him a few more days and pitch him in New York. That's the plan right now. In the meantime, Josh Smith, the right-hander that the Reds had brought up earlier this year, they never got a chance to put him in a ball game. But he's a guy that has come up through the organization, a low-round draft pick in 2010, but, you know, under the radar kind of a guy, but you could say that he has earned his way up here. With the numbers that he's pitched in Louisville this year, his overall numbers in the minor leagues, well above 500. A couple of times he was an all-star in the minor leagues, so we're anxious to see what Josh Smith has for the Pirates tonight.
Well, he'd certainly like to get a win in his big league debut, and if he can get some good offensive support from the Reds, namely maybe from Frazier and Bruce, who've been playing pretty well, maybe that'll occur.
Well, these guys have been, quite frankly, on a roll. Jay Bruce, everything he gets above knee-high, he seems to be laying out a line drive somewhere, and Todd Frazier's been hitting home runs, driving them in, a .318 batting average over the last 5 games. So they hope to do this, but they're playing against a team that has been very stingy with runs here at PNC Park. The Pirates are on a roll. This should be a very good matchup tonight.
Speaking of a roll, the Reds try to keep a roll going against this Pirates club over the course of the last 2 years. Very good against this Pittsburgh team.
By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. And what, it rained really hard in the Berg this afternoon. but it is cleared out. It is gorgeous right now for baseball. I'm Jim Day. We all know the Pirates have had a solid club over the last few years, but the Reds have really competed well against them. Let's check out tonight's Elk and Elk storylines, and you will see that since the start of 2014, the Reds have 17 wins compared to the Pirates' 8. 7 series wins compared to just 1 for the Pirates. But look, the Reds winning close games as well. 9 come from behind wins and 8 last at bat wins. So that is getting it done against a division rival and a tough ballpark to play in. See how it goes tonight as Josh Smith makes his MLB debut. Jim Couch, Chris Welsh ready for the call.
Thank you, Jim Day. Well, Josh Smith making that debut becomes the 5th Reds rookie to start a game this year. And we were talking earlier, it's almost been 50% of the games that the Reds have played this year that they have had that contest started by a rookie. So good luck to Josh Smith tonight. We know you talked earlier about the fact that he's got a lot of family here watching this game.
Oh, you're right. I mean, he's got his mom and dad, Fred and Deb here. They came up from Margate, Florida. The Reds knew ahead of time what they were going to do with Josh Smith, and that's why they didn't have him travel with the Louisville Bats all the way to Scranton, Pennsylvania. They put him up in Dayton, had a pitching inning there, kind of a tune-up inning, so he ought to be ready for tonight, right on schedule, as we like to say.
Funny, he went to Chicago earlier this year, was there for a couple of days, didn't get in the game. That's like being promised some candy and then not getting it.
Well, the only good news for Josh Smith about that is that you get big league meal money and you get big league service time for every day you're on the major league roster, so it ain't all bad.
And the Pirates take the field, and an old foe, Jeff Locke, is out there. He's 27 years old, out of North Conway, New Hampshire. Reds will see him for the 2nd time this year. Here's the numbers that he has put up so far.
Well, so far in the year, he's 1 game over 500. He's a guy that does not have a lot of strikeouts. He's not overpowering. The big key for Jeff Locke is establishing that fastball inside the right-handers. If he can get that call early in the game, he can start expanding the zone, go outside with a changeup, and be successful that way. He's on pretty much of a roll, though, Jeff Locke is. 16 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings at home. And that's what you think about when you come in here and play the Pirates, because they are playing very good baseball here in Pittsburgh as of late.
Well, let's take a look at the Reds lineup that he will face tonight, brought to you by Meyer. Hitting it off, there's that man, Brandon Phillips, Joey Votto, Todd Frazier, the top 3, then Jay Bruce, Marlon Byrd, and Eugenio Suarez. Bottom 3 include Tucker Barnhart, 7, Josh Smith, the pitcher, 8, and Billy Hamilton will play center field, and he will bat 9th. From a defensive standpoint, we look at the Pirates, brought to you by Ford, and their lineup, by and large, with Walker back in there today, has been this most of the year. Marte in left, McCutcheon in center, Polanco in right. Josh Harrison, the Cincinnati native, at 3rd. Mercer, the shortstop. Walker back in there at 2nd base. Alvarez at 1st. Francisco Cervelli has been a bit of a surprise, a pleasant one for the Pirates this year. Josh Harrison's been playing 2nd base for almost a week now with Neil Walker, their fine switch hitting 2nd baseman, out with a stomach ailment. He did pinch hit on Sunday. Both these teams were off yesterday, and he's back in there at 2nd base today, meaning Harrison is back over at a more familiar 3rd base. Mentioned these teams haven't met since early May. The Reds go over here and won 2 out of 3. They defeated Jeff Locke on May the 5th, 7-1, with Michael Lorenzen making the start in that game. Locke 4-3 with a 4.74 ERA against the Reds leadoff man Brandon Phillips. First pitch misses, and we are underway from PNC Park here in Pittsburgh. Phillips at 284. He's done particularly well away from home this year. In fact, he's one of the top hitters in the National League on the road, hitting a lofty 361 away from Great American this season. Didn't get on base much in the recent series against the Marlins, just 1 out of 12. Phillips ahead 3-1. Home plate umpire is Scott Barry tonight. His cohorts, Ted Barrett, the crew chief, at 1st, Chris Conroy at 2nd. Angel Hernandez over at 3rd. to left and a hit for Phillips. Just 2 for his last 19, but the Reds leadoff man gets aboard with a single into left. And it will be Joey Votto. As you mentioned, this Pirates team has been playing very, very good baseball, despite the fact that they were swept over the weekend in Washington and won a stretch during that 3-game series of 24 straight innings without scoring. They still have the best record in the National League in the month of June going into tonight's game at 13 wins, 6 losses.
Well, they've been a really streaky team, the Pirates have been. You know, you said they won those 8 straight, and then they got swept by the Nationals. But at home, they've been very good, and especially when it comes to pitching. Although there have been some guys in this lineup that have had their way in the past with Jeff Locke. One of them is not Joey Votto, but I can tell you that he had he been able to keep that ball fair, he probably would have been able to send Brandon Phillips to third, and he would have had an easy single. All you got to do is stay in the batter's box and do it before you run, Joey. And the Pirates are the shiftiest team in baseball. Not only do they shift certain players, but they shift different ways depending on the count. Sometimes they'll send their third baseman way into right field. Other times they'll shift different characters in different spots. So it's an interesting team to watch from a defensive metric standpoint.
Nice idea by Votto, who had a bunt single just like that earlier this month. I think it was in Detroit, was it not? Toward the mound, and Locke's going to have to hurry, and he's safe at first. Votto legs out, an infield single on that ball, so the first 2 Reds are aboard here in the first inning.
You know, I don't really know if he really wanted to bunt this to the right side of the infield, but it worked out fine for him. He got down the line and out of the box very quickly, Votto did. He was kind of dragging the bunt along with him. And, hey, as long as you're going to shift like that and you give the team in the first inning a chance to get on base in front of one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball, Todd Frazier, why not get on base?
Well, we highlighted Votto and the man on deck, Bruce. The start of this broadcast is doing very, very well for the Reds. Frazier at 292, one of the top power hitters in the league with 23 home runs. That's third. 48 RBIs. That's 5th in the league. Big opportunity here to put the Reds in front early. Frazier has had a lot of success career-wise against Locke, and he lines another base hit into left field. Jim Riggleman will hold Phillips as he gets to third, and it's single to left, bunt single, single to left for the Reds. They have him loaded with nobody out.
Batting fourth, right fielder, number 32, Jay Bruce.
Well, that's what's on the line right now for Jeff Locke, and you go back several starts to find this stat working for you. But 16 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings at this ballpark, and that looks like it's on the verge of ending right there. That is if Jay Bruce, Marlon Byrd, and Eugenio Suarez can get something going here for the Reds. Nobody out, bases loaded.
That number dates back to the 20th of May when the Pirates entertained Minnesota here in an interleague game. Locke gave up 3 runs in 6 innings in that one. Jay Bruce is in the driver's seat here, brought to you by Kia, a 5-game hitting streak in which he's 10 for 20, a couple of home runs, 5 RBIs. He's done very well against left-handed pitching.
Well, his home runs against left-handed is really a hard to believe statistic. We keep talking about it. But the thing that I've seen recently about Jay Bruce, and there's the numbers I was talking about, 53rd home run versus lefty pitcher since 2010. Most in Major League Baseball, including right-handed hitters in that category. But the thing that I see about Bruce is that he's much more comfortable and relaxed at the plate.
Bounces this one in the hole and into right. Phillips will score. Everybody moves up a station. First 4 Reds have reached. Cincinnati jumps in front 1-0 here in the first, and that 16 2/3 inning scoreless streak over here at PNC for long.
Well, as my sometimes other play-by-play man, Tom Brenneman, my normal play-by-play man partner, likes to say, holy Moses, and the Reds are finding the holes tonight. I mean, Phillips had a ball in the hole. Bruce gets a ball in the hole. The ground ball by Frazier was a ground ball hitting the hole. So they're hitting into some good luck tonight and finding the holes. Now they still have an opportunity to really bury this inning if they get a few more runs going.
Here's Marlon Byrd coming off a 3-hit game on Sunday against the Miami Marlins. 3-game series, his first back since that almost 3-week stint on the DL. He's hitting .222 overall with 11 home runs. And another one that is doing very well this year against left-handers, over 300.
These are the numbers against Jeff Locke. And that's a pretty good number right there. 4 for 10. 2 of those 4 hits have been home runs. Locke is just trying to figure right now how to get it out. I mean, how to get out of this inning without a total collapse. And he's primarily a ground ball pitcher. So, you know, the old saying, you have to live by the ground ball, you die by the ground ball. Sometimes they go right at the fielder, you turn a double play behind you. Sometimes, you know, they find the holes. So far tonight, the Reds have found the holes.
Slowly toward third. Harrison will come home and get the force out. Safe. They called him safe. Cervelli apparently was off the bag, according to Scott Barry. And the Reds have added a run, and immediately out of the dugout comes Clint Hurdle. That was a force play at the plate. And it looked like Cervelli had some difficulty finding the dish.
Remember the good old days when the manager used to storm out of the dugout? That won't happen here. They will probably take a look at the video and see if he indeed did have his foot on the plate. He even looks down, Cervelli does, to check where his left foot is. So they're going to ask for a review. The question is, was there contact with that left foot off the plate before the runner got there?
That last angle looked like he scraped the side of it there a little bit, didn't it? This is going to be an interesting one right here.
You know, the really interesting thing in this is that all major league plates have a black outline all the way around the plate. That is not considered part of the strike zone. But is it considered? Well, he looks like he scrapes it twice, actually, because he wasn't sure whether he had it resting against there. I think he's going to be out, and he is out. That's Ted Barrett, the crew chief, getting the call from New York.
So the call is overturned. Votto is out at the plate 5-2. Bird reaches on a fielder's choice. And it's the first out of the inning. Frazier ends up at third. Bruce out at second. Still second and third with 1 out. You started to say about the black.
Yeah, there's a black trim around the outside of the entire home plate. But it is not really considered part of the strike zone because the white part of the plate is 17 inches wide. That's the legal strike zone. And I was curious, for a tag out situation, if your foot touches the black, is that considered part of the plate, or is only the white part of the plate considered the plate? I've never had that question answered or asked.
It did look like the side of the foot of Cervelli was on the black, and then he scraped it on the back part a little bit later on, didn't he?
Well, I know who to ask. We're going to go down there and talk to our good friend Ted Barrett. He's a close friend of Baseball Tech Talk, and he'll give us a straight scoop after the ball game.
Let's hope for something here now from Eugenio Suarez, the shortstop. He had a 3-hit game, his first as a Red, equaling a career high on Sunday. Comes in at 258. This is going to be a foul ball down the line, just out in front of that for Suarez. Suarez has been the everyday shortstop now for the Reds for going on 2 weeks with the injury to Zach Cozart. That knee injury that has sidelined him for the rest of the year. 2 years in a row that Suarez has been given an everyday job in the big leagues due to an injury. Iglesias with the Tigers last year. Cozart with the Reds this year. Cued to the right side. They'll get an out at second and safe at first, and the ball goes into the dugout. Reds will get a couple out of this. Frazier scores. Bruce scores. 3-0 Reds here in the first. Suarez will end up down at second base. There's going to be a throwing error on the shortstop Mercer on this.
Well, you say it's a throwing error on the shortstop. Locke is getting over there. And I guess he did throw it backwards, but Locke looked like he was on the outside part of the first base bag. The whole key for a pitcher in that situation is get to the bag and act like a first baseman. And I think the Locke was still on the move a little bit. He was a hard to hit on the move target.
Seventh man to bat in the inning is Tucker Barnhart. Tucker made one start in the Marlins series, went 2 for 4 on Friday. Switch hitter has not had a whole lot of time batting against left-handers. Hitting .226 overall, but only 1 hit and 11 at bats. Batting right-handed this year.
Well, how nice is it for the Reds to be able to score a 3 spot for Josh Smith making his major league debut? Give him a little breathing room right from the get-go.
Alvarez touches the bag and the inning comes to an end. But as Chris alludes to, Josh Smith will take the mound for the first time as a big leaguer with a lead of 3-0. Pittsburgh's PNC Park and the bridges that go across the river. That's the Roberto Clemente Bridge. Take a look at the lineup that Josh Smith will face tonight. Brought to you by Meyer. For the Pirates, Polanco, Marte, and McCutchen. Walker back in there. Harrison and Alvarez. Cervelli, Mercer, and the pitcher Jeff Locke. 1-2-9 Forkland Hurdles Club. Here's Josh Smith with a 3-0 lead as he goes to the mound for the first time ever in the big leagues. 27 years old, 21st round pick by the Reds back in 2010 out of Lipscomb University down in Nashville.
Well, those numbers that you see right there are for all the different minor league stops he made. He was in Double-A for a little while. He pitched a game in A-ball as recently as Saturday. 1-3 in Louisville with a pretty good earned run average, 3.5. Not overpowering. Sinker, cutter, decent changeup, okay curveball, good control for the most part. Big inning to get through here in the first.
His first big league pitch is up and away for ball one to Gregory Polanco, their right fielder. They throw that baseball out to save it for Josh Smith.
Huh. Boy.
The other day when the Reds were at home facing Justin Nicolino of Miami, they threw that first pitch he threw out of the game, but they threw it in the Reds dugout instead of the Marlins dugout. We hope it got to him.
Scratched up a little bit.
Let's hope the Reds out of Josh Smith can get out of him what the Marlins got out of Nicolino the other day. 7 innings with a shutout baseball against the Redlegs in his big league debut.
Well, he was excellent. There's no doubt about it. And I think the Reds hitters helped him a little bit, but he had very good command, and that's the key. Obviously, when you're not a high-powered velocity strikeout pitcher like Josh Smith, you got to hit your spots here. You know, one thing he's got really going for him is that the Pirates have really never seen him. So, you know, you can look at all the video you want, but until you see a guy and you see how the ball comes out of his hand and his release spot and how he hides the ball, you just really can't tell.
Now, the first big league batter he faces is a called third strike on Polanco as he heads back to the dugout, discusses that with Scott Barry.
Good old-fashioned #1 right here, a little sinking fastball on the block on the corner. Good job of receiving that ball by Tucker Barnhart. I mean, he gives the umpire, look how much of the umpire has to look at that strike zone. And Barnhart doesn't move a muscle. I mean, he catches that ball like he's catching it with a pair of tweezers.
Of course, Barnhart was the main catcher at Louisville last year when Smith was there all year, and some earlier this year, so they are familiar with one another, and it's got to be comforting for him to throw to a guy that he's thrown to in the past.
There's nothing uncomfortable about pitching in the big leagues after being in the minors.
Ball one now to Starling Marte. Pirate left fielder at 273. Was hitless in the series against the Nationals, but having a pretty good month of June, right near 300. Pirates come in second place in the National League Central at 39-30. They trail the Cardinals by 6 games. Talked about the fact that they had won 8 in a row prior to this past weekend, winning 8 straight, and they went from 6.5 out to 4 behind the Cardinals. Just couldn't get anything going there, and then they lost 3 in a row, and here they are 6 games back again.
Well, they lost 3 in a row in Washington because their offense simply went on strike.
Yeah, we mentioned 24 straight innings without scoring a run at one point.
They had over the weekends against the Nationals. Now the Nationals, of course, they were a nearly perfect game. They were no hit by Max Scherzer, but they totaled 3 runs in that 3-game series, a 152 batting average, and they struck out 28 times. So Herwell is hoping that that offensive vacation was just a weekend away.
Take a look at the Reds defensively behind Josh Smith, brought to you by your Ford dealers. This is the new norm for the Reds here. Bird, Hamilton, and Bruce in the outfield. Frazier, Suarez, Phillips, Votto, with Smith pitching to Tucker Barnhart. I guess you could say Pena and or Barnhart. Smith will be in the rotation at least for one more start against the Mets over the weekend. Barnhart catches Smith. He'll catch Leake as well. That's tomorrow night. Now it's Andrew McCutchen. There were a lot of Pirate hitters, McCutchen being one of them, that when the Reds played here in early May had terrible offensive numbers. He has rebounded very well, hitting .287 now. Bad April, but a good May, a better June. Here's what we're talking about. Under 200 in April, well over 300 since that time. He has a streak going of 4 consecutive years making the All-Star team. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it 5 in a row or not. And they have pitchers Fellow the Reds will see tomorrow night Garrett Cole, and then the veteran A.J. Burnett, who have just been lights out this year. The Reds will see them tomorrow and on Thursday.
Yeah, the Reds are really getting the three best pitchers the Pirates have running right now. Give them the long scoreless streak at home for Jeff Locke. Cole, obviously, he could be the National League starter for the American or for the All-Star game. Kind of year he's having.
McCutchen right now 5th in National League voting. By the way, the new National League voting came out today. Jim was talking about it in the pregame, and Todd Frazier has made a little jump over Bryant and into second place, and cut that deficit behind Matt Carpenter virtually in half to about 1.2 million. He was like at 2.4, 2.5 million going into the weekend. So the response by Reds fans has been good. They need to keep it going. Runner on the move, and a stolen base. Well, like the Reds, this Pirates team has done a pretty good job in the stolen base department. Marte gets his 14th.
Well, he got a big jump right there, and you don't blame Josh Smith for not worrying too much about the runner at first base. He's got a 3-run lead. He's got a former MVP in the batter's box. The important thing here is to not let the guy at the plate switch places with the guy at second base.
Now McCutchen has a chance to do what he does best. At least this year, he's hitting .408 with runners in scoring position. That ball gets out of play. Marte out at second base. Reds scored 3 times in the top of the first on 4 hits and a throwing error by Jordy Mercer. Won the first 5 games they played against this team this year. And now back-to-back walks. First to Marte, who then stole second, and now to Andrew McCutchen.
Really the easiest way to allow the other team to get back into the game when you score first and put a big number on the board like 3 in the first is to give them free passes. There's no defense for that. And I know a lot of it's nerves for Josh Smith. I mean, the biggest thing he's got to think about is not the names on the back of the jerseys, but he's got to pitch his game and just kind of try to eliminate the hitter up there and go with concentrating on a spot on the glove of the catcher, Tucker Barnhart. Hit that little spot and you'll be okay.
Had that graphic up earlier about the numbers that he has put up this year in the minor leagues. Only 13 walks in 74 innings, so he is a control guy. And as you said, nerves certainly playing a part of this. Neil Walker has been out 7 of the last 8 games with a stomach ailment in terms of starting. Back in there tonight, did pinch hit, had a hit on Sunday against the Nationals.
Right now, mechanically, what I see from Josh Smith is that he's starting close. He has his left leg pointed towards third base a little bit, keeps his hips closed, and he's not really getting his hips open and getting the ball in there. He's just kind of cutting himself off a little bit, flying open, and having a hard time throwing the ball where he wants to.
Now he's in danger with 3-0 of walking the bases loaded here in the bottom of the first.
Time to slow the old ticker down a little bit.
We saw this same kind of first inning from John Moscott when he made his big league debut. Remember, Moscott, after a very shaky first inning, came back and was pretty strong after that.
Sure was. He threw the ball where he wanted to, and it just goes to show you that if you give the hitters an opportunity to get themselves out, they'll do it. Most of them.
From 3-0 now to Walker to 3-2 with Josh Harrison on deck.
I can't feel that it's really easy to see right now. We talk about the Sun Field at Great American Ballpark on a sunny day. Left field is shining bright. A glare coming off the batter's eye. Well, they've got the same situation right here with a glare coming off the batter's eye.
Loses Walker with a full count, and so now Josh Smith has walked the bases loaded. After getting Polanco looking to start the Pirate first, that's going to bring Jeff Pico out of the dugout.
Well, this is the time maybe just try to change the energy on the mound, and Jeff Pico is probably going to deliver a little talk that he's given many times over the course of his career as a pitching coach. You know, a lot of times what happens to a player, and pitching is the one spot where you're on the mound all by yourself. Nothing happens until you throw the ball. You have to continue to tell yourself and think about the what rather than the what if. The what if is, what if I walk this guy? What if I throw one down the middle and he hits a home run? What if I disappoint my parents who flew all the way up here from Florida? What if I can't pitch at this level? Those are the what ifs. The what is, you got to throw the ball where you want to. What do I need to do to get a good breaking ball going right here? What do I need to do to hit the spot and get a ground ball double play? So the difference really is the mental approach of what versus what if.
Well, the young man had a visit earlier from Barnhart. Now just has a visit from Barnhart and Jeff Pico, and he faces Josh Harrison with the bases loaded, 1 out. He misses with ball 1. Harrison, another one like we were talking about with McCutchen earlier, got off to a terrible start, but really hitting the ball well now. 404 in his last 11 games. And a 9-game hitting streak ended on Saturday. He's still hitting 10 of his last 11. Phillips, Votto. That's what you're talking about, Chris Wilson.
That's a what and a what if. What if it goes to Frazier around the horn? Double play, inning over.
In his MLB debut, first inning, Josh Smith, a big old sigh of relief as he gets out of trouble. I am Jim Day. We're sitting right behind home plate, and I am with the dad of Josh Smith. This is Fred right here. Mom is away taking pictures somewhere in the ballpark as Josh Smith steps in to hit. We just talked about that first inning. You said you were ready to go down there and talk to him.
Yes, I was. When you strike the first guy out, you don't want to walk the next 3.
He's usually a control pitcher, so perhaps some nerves, Dad?
More than nerves. He's more nervous than I am.
What are your emotions right now as you sit here and you've gone full circle and he is making his major league debut, virtually living his dream right now?
Absolutely proud of him. Couldn't be a better moment.
Do you sit back and reflect on all the, we've talked to so many fathers and moms about this. Uh-oh, look out.
Yeah!
How about that, Dad?
What do you think?
What timing right there. Do you think about all the rides to school, to Little League, everything you've done to get him here?
Yeah, everything. Practice, Sundays. Unbelievable.
How has Mom been through this process?
That's why she's not sitting down. I don't even know where she's at. I don't.
Well, let's go back upstairs. Yeah, she's around taking pictures. We'll go back upstairs. Boys, we got one proud papa down here.
Wow, he sounds nervous. I mean, just listening to Jim talk to him, he sounds nervous down there. And how about that, a base hit in his first big league at bat?
You know, Jim Day has a knack for the drama when he's interviewing the proud parents of a young player making his debut. And Josh steps up there and hits a base hit, and wow. Good job, Jim Day. And nice job and nice swing for Josh Smith.
They did get that baseball and throw it out also. So already an inning into this game, he's got 2 souvenir baseballs. The first big league pitch he threw, and his first big league at bat ended up in a hit. Top of the order now, and Phillips 1 on with 1 out. Brandon led off this game with a base hit in the left. Later scored on the single by Jay Bruce. Brandon continues putting up very good numbers against the Pirates this year. And a second hit in this game for him. Lined out into left center. Marte to cut it off. The Reds had 4 hits in the first. They get their second already here in this inning. So 6 in the game. We're only an inning and a third in.
Well, the hits in this inning are different than the ones in the first inning. The Reds scored 3 runs, had 3 hits, or 4 hits without even getting a ball up into the outfield on a fly. Everything was a ground ball that found its hole. But both the hits have been more conventional style here. And Locke is in a little trouble again. Now, Joey won't have the open on the left side of the infield like he normally does against the Pirates. Runner at second base, obviously, you've got to keep the third baseman within trotting distance of third in case you get a stolen base.
Votto, like Bruce, has done well against left-handers, near 290. That bunt hit he had in the first inning extends his on-base streak now to a major league best 30 consecutive games in which he has reached base. Into center and down in front of McCutchen. Third hit of the inning for the Reds. 7 now in the game. Jeff Locke, in that game he threw against the Reds back on May the 5th, allowed 7 hits in 7 innings. He has given up 7 hits already. He's just 1 out into the second.
Joey went down to get a pretty good pitch right there. That ball was down, and he went downstairs to get it. Ray Searage is the pitching coach for the Pirates, and really the consensus throughout baseball is Ray Searage has gained the level of really almost a pitching guru. The number of turnaround prospects that he's had. They brought in guys that have been injured. He's got them back healthy and on the mound. He's had guys that have had trouble getting hitters out until they come over. They put a Pirate uniform on and they go out the deal. And former teammate of mine, he knows a lot about pitching. I'll tell you, and he's a very good communicator, and he's done a heck of a job here in Pittsburgh.
Did a pretty good job with Edinson Volquez, the former Red, when he was here. Bases loaded with 1 out for Frazier. Todd hit in the first with 2 on, nobody out, and had a base hit into left to load the bases. Now he has a chance with a Red leading away at every base here in the second. Already 3-1, rather a 3-0 Cincinnati. One ball, 1 strike to Frazier. Here he is career-wise with the bases loaded. You see those numbers this year. Grand slam this year at Milwaukee and then home against the Tigers. That'll be the infield fly rule, caught by Mercer, second out of the inning.
Got right in there on him. Todd trying to get those arms extended, and Locke likes to pitch right-handers inside. And against a guy like Frazier, that's your only hope of keeping him from jolting the ball out of here. Got it right in on the label.
So now it's Bruce with an opportunity with the bases loaded. RBI single into right his first time with a runner at every base. He has one of the 3 Reds grand slams this year. That came against the Brewers. Single by Josh Smith in his first big league at bat. One out single by Phillips. Another single by Votto. And the pop up by Frazier. That's been this inning thus far. Bruce in the hole, 2 strikes. Josh Smith hasn't had a whole lot of time to sit in the dugout, take some deep breaths, and relax after that 27 pitch first inning. He's been on the bases. There he is over at third. Big crowd on hand here at PNC Park on a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday night. Now the count even at 2-2. Pirate team in the race in the National League Central and in the wild card. Right now they hold down the top wild card spot. They've been in it the last 2 years. Beat the Reds 2 years ago, lost in the wild card to the eventual world champion Giants last year. Alvarez on a bad hop makes the play. Bruce is out. And Locke wiggles out of a jam there. Reds leave him loaded, fail to score in the top of the second.
Before the game, gave it up to bullpen coach Mac Jenkins, who's been applauding Smith since 2010. We talked to Mac about the uniqueness of what he's seen from Josh Smith.
He's got 2 good breaking balls, and that's unusual, and he commands both of them really well. And as you know, I mean, hitters like to hit fastballs. So, you know, he kind of pitches off his breaking ball, which makes him different, and he's good at it.
Brian Price did say also before the game, talking about Mac Jenkins, he's always been a big proponent of Josh Smith. Back when Brian joined the Reds in 2010 as the pitching coach, and Mac came up a year or so after that, he said he really liked Josh Smith, two-time All-Star in the Reds minor league system, minor league pitcher of the year of the Reds organization in 11. And as you were talking about earlier, he's been a winner throughout his minor league career.
50 wins in the minor leagues against only 36 losses. So that says something right there.
Against the powerful Pedro Alvarez to start the bottom of the second. Alvarez, then Cervelli, then Mercer, 6, 7, 8 in their order.
You know, we've really never gotten to know much about Mac Jenkins. I know him. You know him very well from your time down in Louisville and him being the roving pitching instructor for the Reds. 26 years in the Reds organization for Mac Jenkins as a coach, as a bullpen coach now. Minor league pitching coordinator. He was the assistant pitching coach under Brian Price for a year, which really put him in charge of a lot of scouting type stuff, and he still does a lot of that.
Very, very good at finding tendencies, watching video.
Can't have enough good eyeballs on your people.
Like a pretty good off-speed pitch right there, and Alvarez is a strikeout victim.
Now that's a changeup. Look at the grouping of pitches where he's going to throw Pedro Alvarez, and he just stays out there. Alvarez continues to hack at it, knowing he's going to go out there after it, and that ball just drops right off the table. Nice pitch.
Interesting that as you look at the career stats of Josh Smith, back when he was drafted in 10, and then certainly in the next couple of years, he was a strikeout pitcher, averaging over a strikeout an inning. But as he's gone higher in the minor leagues, AA Pensacola, AAA Louisville, again Louisville this year, those numbers have gone down.
Well, when you top out in the low 90s, that's what's going to happen. If you have a good breaking ball early in the young minor leagues, you're going to strike out a lot of batters. But if you go up the ladder, you know, the fish get bigger and bigger.
Well, in that 14-win season in 11 at Class A Dayton, he had 166 strikeouts in 142 innings. This year, 60 strikeouts in 74 between AA and AAA. Working on the Pirate catcher, Francisco Cervelli. First year in a Pirates uniform. Tough play for Frazier. Good scoop and throw, and they've got him at first. Frazier's become so adept at getting that thing and getting rid of it in a hurry.
Well, he's really improved his defense all around. Frazier has. He's got more time than he thinks because he's got the catcher running, but Cervelli got down the line pretty well. You know, we have had in an inning and 2/3 8 runners left on base in this ball game. Right? I mean, it's a 3-0 ball game right now. This could easily have a completely different look to this game. Have the Pirates not been stranded, leaving 3 on in the first inning? Reds unable to get out a run when they had bases loaded last inning. They left 2 on in the first. We've got a lot of action here. We're only in the bottom of the second.
Who knows what might happen by the 5th or 6th? Or these guys, as we've seen in the past, could settle into things and be very stingy with base runners.
Yeah, it looks like he's pitching with a little more confidence, although he's now run the count to 3-0. A big batter here, for no other reason than if you get the number 8 hitter out, you lead the next inning off with the pitcher. The most ideal thing you can do.
Mercer hitting only .215, the Pirate shortstop. There's Locke waiting on deck. And he walks his 4th of this game, the number 8 hitter, Jordy Mercer. Looking at the numbers this year, this is the most walks in a game by Josh Smith in a game in 2015. The deal with a pitcher lock with a runner aboard and 2 out. Lock 2 out of 20 as a hitter this year. Suarez to Phillips. They get the force out at second base on Mercer. And a 0 in the bottom of the 2nd for Josh Smith against the Pirates. TV Premium for live or on demand on over 400 devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking, and more. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Beautiful view on the river, and now inside PNC Park here in Pittsburgh. Reds through 2, leading 3-0. Aaron Bird into a force play his first time. Lead sings off. He cracks one out into center. McCutchen is going to get there. And McCutchen makes the catch. So 1 pitch, 1 out here in the 3rd. Take a look at our IGS bringing the energy feature for tonight's game. What about the best National League record since June the 7th? Got the Reds at 9-5 along with these Pirates, along with the Cubs and the Cardinals. How about that? All 4 of these teams out of the National League Central Division, other than the Brewers, everybody represented since June the 7th. Suarez picked himself up an RBI on that ground ball his last time, and now he gets a base hit here. Suarez is a 4-game hitting streak. He's on with 1 out. Interested to know what your impressions are so far, Chris. You've seen him play almost 2 weeks now, Suarez.
Well, we saw him play a lot in spring training.
Yeah.
I think he was very impressive down there, Jim. The question is, do you do during the regular season what you think you can do in spring training? And that month of March can fool a lot of people. but he's been very impressive. He makes seemingly all the plays that he needs to make at shortstop, routine plays. We haven't seen him really have a chance to make, you know, the tremendous in the hole plays very much. But he makes all the plays he seems to get to, and his batting has been very impressive. I think the Reds did another good job of scouting when they decided to trade with the Detroit Tigers. They had to send away Alfredo Simon, and they got a pretty good player in return.
He played 80-plus games as a starter for the Tigers last year, replacing the injured Jose Iglesias, and he's doing the same now here for Zach Cozart.
He's 23 years old.
Some 6 years younger than Zach. Remember when it occurred, the trade brought him over here. Jimmy Leland thought the Reds got a great player out of it. Diving catch by Walker, and that ball hit by Barnhart.
Well, that's just a tough break for Tucker Barnhart because that ball was hit in a perfect spot, so he thought. Neil Walker comes out of nowhere right here. A little bit of tail on that ball right at the very end allows Walker to get there and make a diving stab. That's a dandy.
Pirates are glad to have him back in the lineup. Mentioned he has not started in 7 of the last 8 games due to a stomach ailment. Pittsburgh native back into today. It's really the first, and he wasn't even on the disabled list. It wasn't really a baseball injury, simply an illness. The first thing that the Pirates have had go wrong for them in terms of their everyday 8 this year. They have by and large had Marte, McCutchen, Polanco, Harrison, Mercer, Walker, Alvarez, and Cervelli in their lineup this season. They've been fortunate in that regard. They moved Alvarez from third to first base because of the problems that he had had in the past throwing. That's worked out pretty well for them, giving Harrison a place to play every day. Martin leaves and goes back home to Canada and Toronto, and they acquire Cervelli from the Yankees. He's worked out very well back there, certainly offensively. And they get A.J. Burnett back. I don't know how much, if any, Ray Searage has to do with the turnaround of the veteran Burnett, but he very well make his first All-Star team this year. Should, in fact.
You're right, he should.
Another ball hit hard by Smith, but right at the left fielder Marte to end the Reds' third.
Week to close the gap in the All-Star voting, and the Reds even use young son Blake to get some votes. Please vote for my daddy. Hashtag vote Frazier. I talked to Todd about it and said, hey, you got to give Blake some credit.
how can you say no to that face? So I'll have to make up another picture or something, maybe him posing in a bathing suit, with his muscles out. So we'll see how that works. But it's, yeah, I got to give him some credit for sure.
Good stuff right there. And Todd Frazier was more than 2.5 million votes behind Matt Carpenter. He not only leaped over Bryant into second place, but he's only 1.2 million behind. You can vote through July 2nd. Reds.com, MLB.com. Let's keep it going, Reds country.
He was 2.5 million votes behind, and I just didn't think that he would be able to make that up. And now, I don't know. I've kind of changed my mind a little bit.
Why not?
Made up half of it in a week, less than a week. So
well, it's not like it is an effort to get somebody who is not deserving in there just because he's a good guy.
True.
And he signs autographs and he yucks it up on the field. Hey, this guy has earned it as much as anybody in the league to be on this All-Star game, and certainly having the best year of any third baseman out there.
Now, my question is, does Blake Frazier then have an email address that he uses to vote for Dad?
That's it. How do you know he doesn't have an email address?
I don't know that. Maybe he does, and maybe he's voted 35 times. He's done it. He's encouraging everybody else to do it.
His car seats come with a lot of accessories nowadays. Back in your day when you and Diane were having kids, all they had on those car seats was those little mobiles that would hang down, and they would play with little hanging toys and maybe move little rings from one end to the other. Now they got iPads and all sorts of stuff going on.
Touch screens, all sorts of stuff. Well, we want you to vote. We encourage you to vote again through July the 2nd. You can vote 35 times on the 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot at Reds.com. Voting is exclusively online and available on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. Vote Frazier, vote Votto, vote Phillips today at Reds.com. And while certainly the emphasis has been on Todd Frazier, we invite you to vote for all the Reds players. Joey's been there before. Phillips has been there before. Frazier was the National League champion in the Home Run Derby last year, but not an All-Star. Safe at second.
Josh Smith is going to have to pay a little more attention because if this ball game stays the way it is, which is a tight ball game, the running game may have a lot to do with who wins it. Polanco gets a first batter walk, and then he almost looked like he was faking the run to second base, just waiting for Josh Smith to move. And I'm not sure what's going on right here. They're going to review that call. The Reds asked for a review on that play at second base.
That's what it looks like, because there go the umpires, the first and second base umpire. Ted Barrett, the first base umpire, is the crew chief. Chris Conroy at second base made the call.
Well, they must have seen something down in the video room. Rob Coughlin is the guy that runs it for the Reds down there. And we've not seen the replay on the big scoreboard here. We're going to take a look at it. Polanco, does he get his foot in there? I think he's out.
He tagged him right there on the high left leg area. If they get this overturned, big kudos to the Reds video boys. Look at that. They get the overturn on the play at second base, and Polanco is out 2-4.
Well, that's a situation. I'll tell you, that's where good job by the video man, Rob Coughlin. I mean, he goes around, he prepares all the videos for the players to look at about their hitting and their pitching and everything else, but he's also responsible for in-game, on-the-spot action like that. Now, Brandon Phillips is kind of flexing his glove hand right there. That's a situation also, though, where Tucker Barnhart made something out of nothing. Because it appeared to me that Polanco had such a big jump that there was no way they're going to throw him out. But he threw it right on the money.
Yeah, Phillips looked to be moving that hand around that wrist area, one of which he injured last year.
We'll have to go down to Jim Day maybe after Brandon goes into the dugout, because you know how close they are. They'll be able to probably buddy up to Brandon and find out if that hand is hurting him or not.
It didn't appear, although maybe if we had another look at it, we could see if on the slide by Polanco, maybe something occurred on the tag. Not really looking for that earlier. Here's a look at it again. Right there, you can tell that Phillips is hurting a little bit. Almost looked like he jammed the left thumb. Smith in danger of walking his 6th in this game. Back, John Moscott, June the 5th, made his big league debut. That was against the Padres at home. He walked 3 in the first inning against the Padres, did not walk any after that. Smith is in danger of a 6th walk here to Marte. But he comes back and gets him on strike. 3rd strikeout, 2nd out of the inning.
Well, 3rd strikeout in 3 innings for Josh Smith. And he just throws a good old-fashioned fastball right by the number 2 hitter, Starling Marte. And that is good enough to be our flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce, sizzling up there at 92 mph.
A chance for a 3-batter inning now if Smith can handle Andrew McCutchen. He walked him his first time. About how well the Pirates have been playing at home this year. Chris, you alluded to the fact that they have been very good. 21 wins, 11 losses at home, one of the top home records in the National League. Now look at their schedule. It really breaks well for them now until the All-Star break. They have 19 games left at on their schedule until the break, and of those 19, 16 of them are here at home. Not been terrible on the road by any stretch, 18 and 19, but you're playing as well as they do at home and you have a 16 out of 19 stretch in your ballpark. You got to be feeling pretty good. Frazier cuts this off, and it is a 3-batter inning thanks to the caught stealing for Josh Smith as we conclude 3 innings here in Pittsburgh. Vizquel thinks his idol Davey Concepcion should be in the Hall of Fame. In 1957, Reds fans caused a scandal by stuffing the All-Star ballot boxes. How did that change the voting process? And the All-Star spotlight shines on former Reds second baseman Tommy Helms. Reds Weekly with Jeff Pecoro and Doug Flynn. New episode debuts tomorrow at 6 for Reds Live right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Produced by the great Ron Melanor, a.k.a. Rufus. Hamilton leads it off here in inning number 4. Reds trying to get back to within 3 games of the 500 mark if they could win tonight, making it 5 out of the last 6. And 6 of 7 against this Pirates team this year. Leading 3-0.
Well, the Reds are by far the team that the Pirates have had the most problems with this year. In interleague play, they've not done too badly. They're 1 game over 500. They're 4-0 against the White Sox. They have swept Miami the only time they played them, so they're 3-0 against them.
Nice push bunt. This is going to be a base hit. That is beautifully executed by Billy Hamilton. We've talked a lot this year about the bunts that he has not been able to get down. He could not have done that any better.
Well, you know, he seems to bunt to the right side a little bit more when he's batting as a right-handed hitter. And that's almost an impossible spot for a left-handed pitcher to get to because the lefty's following through towards third base. And most first basemen are not mobile enough to get that. Watch Locke fall off. He's going to go this way and then have to turn around and try to get it. You forget about it right there. If the first baseman doesn't field that ball, you're home free. And he'll be looking to try to figure out Locke's move and head to second base.
Locke this year has allowed 7 stolen bases. Well, Billy Hamilton is in a stretch right now where he's gone 6 straight games without a steal. Not his longest, either career-wise or this year. Leads the league, of course, with 31. Held by Alvarez. You got a jump, but they throw to first and wide to second. And a stolen base for Billy Hamilton, number 32.
Well, I can tell you, as a left-handed pitcher, that happened to me a lot. And if you have a right-handed throwing first baseman, it's a very difficult play for him. Billy Hamilton never stops throwing. A right-handed throwing first baseman has to create a throwing lane, and you never really get to that. And the throw's got to be on the money. So that's almost a cinch to just get a big lead and keep on going.
Throw is to the third base side of second. Hamilton with number 32 in scoring position.
See, that big long delivery and slow throw to first base is the start of the whole thing. Alvarez is a former third baseman. He's had throwing problems, though, and he doesn't throw that ball on the money. And the other trick that a runner can do is run a little bit on the inside of the line, thereby even taking more of the throwing lane away.
There's someone who does that really well is Joey Votto. He kind of throws it sidearm or almost a little bit submarine down there and gets it down there almost always on the money.
Well, he gets rid of it quickly, and for the way he throws it, his accuracy is really uncanny.
Yeah. Reds are had pressure on against Locke now in 3 of their 4 innings worth of ABs. Down to Jim Day and get an update on what may have happened with Brandon Phillips on that stolen base attempt in the third. Jim?
It is his left thumb. He jammed it on the runner, obviously going into second base. It's the same thumb that he hurt fielding last year. and he was checked out between innings and obviously giving it a go right now, but he's still been fidgeting with that left thumb throughout this at bat.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that had something to do with him trying to bunt here in this at bat too. That last swing, just other than him falling down, it kind of looked awkward.
Harrison cuts that ball off and throws Brandon out. But that ball's going to sneak by Josh and get into left field for Phillips' third hit of the night.
First baseman, Joey Votto.
Hamilton had to stay put out at second base. Votto gets the chance now. Two hits already in this game for Votto. Joey started the day at 296 with those two hits he has already in this game. Up over the 300 mark. Off the glove of Alvarez on a line drive. Joey's going to be aboard. Hamilton over to third. Boy, Votto hit the heck out of that ball, but right at Pedro Alvarez, who had it deflect off his glove.
Third baseman, Todd Frazier.
You know, I guess unless you're standing down there, you don't realize how fast that ball gets on you. It could be knuckling. I'm not sure there's going to be a whole lot of conversation, though, between those two guys. What does Alvarez say? You hit that ball so hard I couldn't catch it. 100 feet away.
Look at those error numbers for Alvarez playing first base.
They're trying to hide him somewhere, and that ball will find you.
Pirates have not been, nor were they last year, the last couple of years, nor are they again this year, a particularly proficient defensive team. They have 49 errors this year, third most in the National League. Now let's see if Frazier and the Reds can take advantage of that one there with something here.
I mean, both the runners on base really have something to do with Alvarez not being able to either throw or catch. Hamilton got picked off, ran to second base. It would have been a bang-bang play, but a throw on the money probably would have had him going into second base. And that ball, even though it was hit extremely hard, maybe even knuckling, was an error all the way.
Pitch walk to Frazier by Locke, first issued by the Pirate left-hander. Now the Reds have him loaded with one out. He had him loaded in the first, had him loaded in the second. Now they have him loaded in the fourth. How about Bruce in this game? He comes up there for the third time. All three times he's been up there, the bases have been loaded. In the first, he had an RBI single. In the second, he grounded out to first to end the inning. Now here he is with runners at every base and one man out. Came into this game 3 for 8 with the bases loaded. 4 for 10 now as he tries to add to a 3-0 Reds lead. Bill Hughes up in the bullpen. Jared Hughes, pardon me. Jared Hughes up in the Pirate bullpen. First saw Locke a couple of years ago. He did very well against them. His first 4 starts against the Reds, he went 3-1. Last 4, 1-3. Beat him earlier this year here. They're leading him here in the 4th inning tonight. Johnny Cueto in the background of that picture there as Locke was over near the dugout along with Cervelli. Johnny obviously was scheduled to start tonight's game. Brian Price talked about a pocket of inflammation near his elbow. That was the reason why back in May he was skipped a couple of times. Since then has made 4 starts and thrown very well. He's been pushed back from this start until the series opener in New York at Citi Field against the Mets on Friday. And according to Brian Price, according to Dr. Tim Kremchek, medical director of the Reds, that they feel Cueto can get right near, if not all the way to 100%, by giving himself a couple of extra days off. So that's what the Reds opted to do. He was asked point blank, is it something new at all from when it was an elbow strain in May? And Brian said no, it is not the same thing. That'll get a run home for Bruce, and the Reds making it 4-0. Now 2nd and 3rd with 2 out. So that in itself is very good news for the Reds.
Well, it is good news. I mean, it really comes down to trying to keep one of their best assets healthy. And, you know, I would imagine that if the Reds are right in the thick of the pennant race right now, and they didn't have the injury that they've had sustained, and they needed Johnny Cueto to go out there, he probably would be on the mound tonight.
That's exactly what he said.
He's certainly the kind of guy that is not going to refuse an assignment. I asked him before the game, Cueto that is, how you feel? He says he feels fine. And he's looking forward to pitching this weekend. But he said that he would pitch when they told him he would pitch. I said, because I asked him when you're pitching, he said, well, when they tell me. So.
Tell you that in English or Spanish?
He said that in English. He said it in Spanish.
You'd understand.
I wouldn't have known.
He talks to you in English more than anybody else.
Because we usually talk baseball.
Yeah.
And not injuries and things like that. But I think it's really about the Reds just taking extra caution with Cueto, and why not? I mean, regardless of what happens to Johnny Cueto, whether the Reds are able to sign him long term, or whether they have to deal him at some point, you want this guy to be the healthiest person possible. Because when he toes the rubber for you, you want him to give you a Johnny Cueto game. And if you toes the rubber with other people watching, you want the same type of game so that his value will be at the peak.
Intentional walk to Bird gives Suarez the chance. Bases loaded, 2 out, a run in, 4-0 Cincinnati.
Well, you talk about pitching under stress. Jeff Locke tonight has had the first batter of the inning on 3 of the first 4 innings. And he's probably pitched 90% of his pitches, at least 95%, 90 to 95% of his pitches out of the stretch. This is the kind of game that just mentally wears you down. And the Reds have been on the verge of just blowing it right open from the very first part of the first inning. That's Brandon Phillips' left thumb, surgically repaired last year.
Suarez had a hit his last time into center. Would love one here to add to this 4-0 Reds lead. That pitch count for Locke. Look at that thing. Closing in on 80 here in the 4th.
A couple of key hits in the first inning. He may not even be out there right now.
Two very good starts. His last 2 times out for Locke. One against the Phillies, one in Chicago against the White Sox. Not tonight. To the right of Mercer. Tough play, but he makes it. Suarez is out. The inning is over. Reds leave him alone, and they've stranded 9, but lead 4-0. Local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Meyer. Find more for a healthier you at Meyer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News and Report's Best Children's Hospital. Big crowd here at PNC Park in Pittsburgh tonight. Josh Schmidt becoming the 5th Reds rookie to start a game for Cincinnati this year. So far, while he has not been crisp, he's walked 5. Has held his Pirates team without a run, without a hit. And his team has scored 4 times, so the Reds lead 4-0, bottom of the 4th. Neil Walker, the switch hitting second baseman, leads it off. Walker, then Harrison, then Alvarez. Cardinals playing down in Miami tonight. That game tied 3-3 in the 5th. Giancarlo Stanton, a home run, is 26th. To ask you, Chris, what do you think of the way that the Reds handled Stanton over the weekend?
Pretty amazing, really.
Yeah. 2 singles.
He had to figure that coming into Cincinnati, a small ballpark compared to what he plays down in Florida, that he would be hitting the ball out there with regularity. And he never came close, really, to hitting anything on the screws. They handled him quite well.
There's a 6th walk now given up by Josh Schmidt. First time in his professional career. He turned pro in 2010 after being drafted. First time in his pro career he has walked 6 in a game. And this is so atypical of what he is normally doing out there. He probably can't believe it himself.
Well, he's dodging bullets right now. You just wonder how long he can do that.
Josh Harrison hit into an inning-ending double play in the first. Had a chance to talk with Josh prior to the game. right after Pirates batting practice.
What a great kid.
He really was very friendly, and he said this is a great time for the family because they don't have the MLB package and whatever. This is their real opportunity when the Reds and the Pirates get together to watch on television, see him play. Said he enjoyed going back and playing a little bit of second base this last week with Walker out, but realistic enough to know that they need Neil Walker in there in order to win. So he said glad to go back to third. He also made an interesting point, Chris, in that he said everybody panicked that first month. He signed that long-term deal while the Reds were in, while the Pirates were in Cincinnati to start the year. Then he got off to a terrible start. People started questioning that contract, but he said, I never panicked. I knew I'd come around. And here's a guy that has gotten gradually better over the last 2 months. He's up to 282 at the start of the day.
Well, last year was his first year being able to play every day. Had 550 plate appearances, hit .315, 13 home runs, and 52 knocked in. He's got his average now back up to 282. All-star last year, Harrison was. There's a base hit. Believe it or not, after having 5 base runners, 6 base runners already, that is the first hit the Pirates have been able to muster off of Josh Smith. But more importantly than that, he's got a 4-run lead, 2 on and nobody out. And that's why the trip to the mound by Tucker Barnhart.
Pedro Alvarez struck out on a good changeup by Smith back in the second.
If there's anybody in this Pirates lineup with motivation to do something offensively, it's Pedro Alvarez.
Made the error that led to a run in the fourth.
Great first pitch. Alvarez with the fastball. Just towards the string.
Not striking out quite as much this year as he has in the past. Still 52 in 200 at bats, about 1 every 4 times up. Walk to Walker, hit by Harrison. 2 on with no one out. He gets ahead of Alvarez. Reds have action in their bullpen now. Right-hander Pedro Villarreal is throwing.
Talking about the high pitch count of the Pirate left-hander Jeff Locke, up around 80 pitches already, and now Josh Smith finds himself in that same territory. Locke because he's given up a lot of base hits. Smith because he's given up a lot of base on balls.
Another off-speed pitch. Alvarez stays alive.
Alvarez, a one-time All-Star. That was 2013 when he had 36 home runs. Drove in an even 100. They also led the league in strikeouts that year, 186 of those.
He has made an improvement in that area, cutting down on his strikeouts. Big RBI chance for him here. Hamilton on the run. He's not going to get it. It's off the wall. 1 run will score, and that's all they'll get. Being held as he came charging around third with Josh Harrison on the run-producing double by Alvarez. For Pedro, his 11th double, 29th RBI. Pirates are on the board.
Well, he waited around at that at bat long enough that Josh Smith finally made a mistake and got a pitch up around knee high. And Alvarez, a big, strong guy, put the wood on it. This was played perfectly by Hamilton. It came right back to Billy on one hop. He fires it back, and Josh Harrison did something at third that you rarely ever see a runner do. When he came around third base, he was right on the tail of the leading runner. And Rick Sofield, the third base coach, put the stop sign up, and after he got past the bag, he slid in order to stop. It was the only way he was going to stop his momentum because he was going full bore.
Second time tonight, Jeff Pico's been to the mound. There's the battery and the pitching coach talking it over, broken up by Scott Berry. Francisco Cervelli represents now the tying run at the plate for the Pirates.
Well, you think back, Jim, about all those opportunities the Reds had to really put this game on ice.
They did score 3 in the first, but they left 2 on.
I mean, they've left 8 runners on base here through the first 4.
Left them loaded in the second, left them loaded in the fourth.
Take a look at that slide by Josh Harrison. He was held up by Sofield. He's the third baseman. And he's thinking about scoring right here. He looks up and says, "Oh, I see the stop sign." And that's really the only way he was going to stop, because the cutoff man had the ball. Suarez gets it back in the infield. But had he decided to stay a foot, he would have wandered too far past third base. Frazier was there to apply the tag if they could have got the ball to him. Nice play by Harrison. It's also a nice play because he kept his eyes up while running hard so he could pick up the third base coach.
Hamilton going back, still going back, near the wall, gone. Cervelli had a terrific month of June, hit .377, has continued hitting very well in this month, and he hits the home run ball there, his third of the year. And this game is even, and Josh Smith's debut is finished on this Tuesday night. Reds will make a pitching change. Pedro Villarreal has been throwing. He'll come in. This is our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen.
Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, a dejected Josh Smith watches from the dugout now his major league debut. Over 3 innings plus, 4 batters, 4 runs all earned, 3 hits, 6 walks, 3 strikeouts. He's going to look back at this one and probably really be disappointed with those walks.
Well, no doubt about it. That set up the Pirates to be able to make a comeback. You know you're only going to hold them down offensively so long, but if you load the bases with runners with 3 passes, walks will haunt. Pedro Villarreal, 10 innings coming up for Pedro, 6 game overall. He has been up and down that I-71 corridor, back and forth between the bats and the Reds a whole lot this year.
Well, it's only 5 times back and forth between Louisville Slugger Field and Great American Ballpark.
Well, some guys get frequent flyer mileage, you know, when they go back and forth between the minors and the majors. Pedro gets gas coupons.
Makes that triple odd, buddy. Frequent driver miles.
I wonder if he has a CD in his car. Talk to the truckers coming back and forth. I mean, he's been on that road so much.
Are those still out there? Do people still use those things?
You know, I don't know. You still have yours?
What would your handle be? I have an idea.
Come on.
Somebody we know says that all the time, don't they? We start from scratch virtually here. 4-4 now in the bottom of the 4th. Pedro Villarreal on in relief of Josh Smith. Now he's in danger of walking his first batter in this game. 27-year-old out of Texas. Drafted by the Reds back in 2008.
Pedro was one of these guys when he was drafted, not really a high draft pick. He was a young man that was taken the 7th round out of a high school, Seagoville High School in Seagoville, Texas. But he was used as a starter, came up through the minor leagues primarily as a starter, and then recently turned into a reliever. That really started in 2014.
Backhand by Suarez to get the first out of the inning. Now Jeff Lott's going to be finished as well. Jose Tamada is going to come off the bench and hit for the Pirates starter. Well, it was Tamada who was the only Pirate to reach base on Saturday in that perfect game bid by Max Scherzer of the Nationals. In fact, here it is.
That's Max Scherzer within 1 strike of a perfect game. Ball clipping the elbow of Jose Tabata, and he did get the no-hitter.
Well, it clipped that elbow guard, and there are those who say he actually leaned into that ball. Didn't really get out of the way at all. In fact, leaned into it to try to get hit. You know, that happened in the College World Series this week, and a runner was not allowed to take first base.
Well, they changed the language in the NCAA rulebook about that because there were so many teams in college baseball. They would load up on some armor, and they'd have those guys stand right on top of the plate that made it almost impossible for pitchers to pitch inside because you would be hit with pitches that were nearly a strike. Because if you were hit with a pitch that is a called strike, it's a strike and not a hit by pitch. The rule book says that you don't have, it doesn't say that you have to try to get out of the way. It just says that you can't intentionally lean in and get hit. They made those words much stronger in the NCAA rule book this year.
So you see nothing wrong with the approach Tampa took in that at bat.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm on the mound, I'm saying, hey, he leaned in and looked like he wanted to get hit.
Right.
There's no doubt. But you know, I'm sure they had smarter people than me look at it and come up with that opinion that he deserved to go first base. I think if you look at the pitching chart, you know, the strike zone chart or the box of that particular at bat, with Tampa up there against Scherzer, you'll see how far inside that pitch was compared to everything else he threw.
And to Scherzer's credit, he was able to stay in the moment, retire Josh Harrison on the fly ball to end the game.
I was still surprised he was throwing a slider right there. It was a slider that got away for Scherzer. I mean, he was throwing close to 100 miles an hour in that inning. He had so much adrenaline going.
Bruce will handle this off the bat of Tabata. There are 2 out, so Villarreal has come on. Gotten the first 2 he has faced, and now we'll deal with Polanco to try to keep this game even heading into the 5th. Josh Smith ends up throwing 79 pitches in this game. 4 runs, 3 hits, 3+ innings, but 6 walks. He will get a no decision in his big league debut. He looks a little, we saw him in that shot there, Chris. He looked a little glazed over right there a little bit. A lot to take in a short period of time.
Yeah, it certainly isn't the way you envisioned it. I mean, you probably went to bed last night. Don't know if you even went to sleep,
sure,
but you went to bed thinking about all the things and all the possibilities and what might happen. And the bottom line is you got to throw strikes. And I think that he'll come out with a little bit more resolve to do that and make that his #1 focus. And hopefully for Josh Smith, there'll be plenty of days where he'll get a chance to look back and evaluate a major league outing.
Well, again, you harken back to what John Moscott did in his first start, when he walked 3 in 5 innings against the Padres, and you look forward to saying we think we'll see better things from Moscott in the second start, and certainly we did. He picked up his first big league win against Philadelphia when he went 6, allowed 2 runs, 6 hits, and hopefully good things like that will be in store for Josh Smith come this weekend in New York. Hamilton in and then back, and he's not going to get it. Off the wall it goes. Polanco long-legging it toward third. And he's going to slide in there with a triple. Suarez appeared to get that ball and not turn and look before he threw, but rather just turn and throw at the same time. But it didn't look as if maybe they had a chance over there at third base.
I wonder, and Brandon Phillips is over talking to him right now, probably asking him why he did what he did. It would have been a very rare occasion anyway. You got to get way out there if you're a cutoff man right here, because you got to figure Billy Hamilton's not going to put much on that ball. So you got to get as far out there as you can. And maybe he figured he was just running out of time, that if he got that relay and then turned and crow hop, he would not have a chance to get Polanco. Great effort by Hamilton.
3-base hit for Polanco is his second triple of the year. After getting no hits through 3 innings in this game, the Pirates now have 4 of them in this inning. Now a chance to take the lead with Marte at the plate. taken the lead. Eugenio Suarez moving to his left, fielded that ball well. The short hop throw gets by Votto. Pittsburgh now is leading 5-4.
Ball and Votto unable to scoop it. You know what infield coaches will tell infielders that when they pick a ball up and begin to throw that ball at the first baseman's eyes, and that gives them a target, a very small target to throw to. And sometimes it reduces the missing spot for you. The margin of error.
It's not like Votto's a small guy over there. Also a big target to throw to.
Yeah, but he's usually also a guy that picks a lot of those out of the dirt. He saved a lot of errors with that glove scooping out there.
Pittsburgh has put a 5 spot on the board here, taking a 5-4 lead. Ninth man to bat in the inning is Andrew McCutchen.
McCutchen and Jay Bruce will be forever linked as players because they were drafted one player away from each other in the 2005 draft. The Pirates got McCutchen number 11 in the first round. The Reds took Bruce number 12 in the first round. And when they first made the major leagues, Bruce came to the major leagues 1 year earlier than McCutchen, and he made a big splash right away. Had 21 home runs his first year. McCutchen struggled early on. He did have 12 home runs in 2009 as a 22-year-old. They're just about exactly the same age. Bruce has made 2 All-Star appearances in 2011 and 12.
McCutchen lays into this ball, and it's a home run, the second of the inning by the Pirates. The air opens the door for an even bigger frame for Pittsburgh. Scored 7 times here in the fourth.
Well, and to finish the story on McCutchen and Bruce, McCutchen's made 4 consecutive All-Star appearances, and it looks like he may be on the way to a 5th. He got all of this one. Like the player we saw him earlier this year.
Now that first series of the year,
of course, he was injured, didn't want to admit that his knee was bothering him. There's a lot of mystery around McCutchen. He looks totally healthy now, and that's not a good thing for the rest of the Central Division.
A 7 spot by the Pirates here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Is their largest inning of the season. The Reds now find themselves on the short end by 3. This is almost the kind of thing that the Nationals did to the Pirates on Sunday when they scored 9 in the first against Charlie Morton. Now here they've turned around and scored 7 in the 4th. View there with a couple of rookies, Lorenzen and Josh Schmidt, teammates in Louisville earlier this year. Walker Walker started this inning by drawing a walk. He later scored on the double by Pedro Alvarez. 3-run homer by Francisco Cervelli in the inning. 2-run shot by Andrew McCutchen. Pirates have not been a home run hitting club at all. They came into this game right near the bottom of the National League in home runs. The interesting home run story of this series is the Reds with 82, the second most in the National League, against a Pirate pitching staff that has given up the fewest in the big leagues, only 42. But for the first half of the first game, it's been the Pirates playing long ball. Long inning out there for Villarreal, who took over for the starter Smith. And he retired the first two. Then the triple, then the error, then the home run. It's made a straight change with Villarreal. He's due up second in the fifth inning. Certainly Brian Price didn't envision that Villarreal would be out there, having thrown, 31 pitches now. And having given up 3 runs of his own. So all of them go down as unearned due to the error. Cahill, a right-hander, throwing in the Pirate bullpen. Jeff Locke was lifted for the pinch hitter in this inning, Jose Tabata. Bird is there, and finally the inning is over. But a 7 spot for Pittsburgh. They lead 7-4 after 4. Pitcher going to come on for Pittsburgh, but big news comes out of the world of college baseball. As we were away, we find out that Andrew Benintendi, the Madeira High School youngster, is the Golden Spikes Award winner.
Wow, what a great triumph for Andrew Benintendi, first player out of Arkansas to win that. You see the numbers on him. He had a tremendous year. He was the SEC Player of the Year, the Gatorade Player of the Year in 2013 in the state of Ohio. He set all sorts of records. Batting average when he played for Madeira High School. And a young man that was recently drafted by the Red Sox. And hopefully he is on his way to having a terrific professional career. Boy, could not happen to a better young man and a nicer family.
Congratulations to Andrew Benintendi, the Golden Spikes Award winner. What a year it's been for him in 2015. New pitcher on for the Pirates is a right-hander, Rob Scahill. He replaces the starter, Jeff Locke.
It's really like a whole new game right now. I mean, the first few innings were so weird because the teams left so many runners on, and there were so many opportunities for the Reds to blow it wide open. There were opportunities for the Pirates to come back. They finally did come back in the fourth with that big 7th spot. 3 of those are unearned. At the end of the inning, the error.
Chris Dominguez is on deck to bat for Villarreal. Carlos Contreras has gotten up, started to throw in the Reds bullpen. There's Dominguez. Barnhart turns around, bats from the left side. Tucker's grounded out and lined out on a terrific play by Neil Walker up the middle. There's Contreras. Reds led 3-0, then led 4-0. Now trail 7-4. They bat here in the 5th. Hit to left center by Barnhart. That's going to get down. That's going to be a hit. That rolls toward what they call here at the ballpark the North Shore Notch. And that's a double for Tucker Barnhart. Tucker's second 2-base hit of the season.
Really good swing by Tucker Barnhart, staying back, taking the ball the other way. You know, it seems like the more Tucker plays, the better he seems to get at the plate. You know about his defense.
Chris Dominguez is very capable of making this a 1-run game. Will bat for Villarreal. Man who made the Reds club out of spring training. A non-roster player signed from the Giants. 3 at-bats, 3 strikeouts very early on. Option down to Louisville. He was not having a great year down there. He's actually done better since his return, including another home run and a triple. With the big league club, he's hitting .235. As a pinch hitter, 1 out of 6. 1 inning's worth of work for Pedro Villarreal. 3 runs, all unearned. 2 hits, 1 triple, 1 home run.
Well, it's very likely going forward that Chris Dominguez is going to be much more of a bench player, a pinch hitter. He's got power. That's one reason that he's intriguing to the Reds, because when he hits it, it hits a long, long way. But he's got to get to the point where he swings the strikes and doesn't foul off those mistake pitches that pitchers make to him. For instance, right there, you're ahead 2-0. And a pitcher throws you a pitcher's pitch. I don't know if it would have been a strike or not, but it was certainly down around the hollow of the knees. And even if you hit it, you're probably going to hit it into the ground. That's where a more experienced hitter is going to take that pitch, make that guy come right to him.
Long way for Mercer. They're going to try to go to third to get him out, and safe the call by Angel Hernandez. Body's got tangled up down there. Runner, umpire, third baseman.
Clint Hurl at the top of the dugout steps. He's waiting for a response from his video man, whether they're going to have another replay or not. We've had 2 reviews and 2 overturned calls. Did he get the tag in or not? That's the question. Little untangle there at the very end between Harrison and the umpire Hernandez.
Oh, this is a tag play. It looked like he got in there, I think. What about you?
I'm with you. Safe.
Good call by Angel Hernandez. It appears here should be the definitive angle.
Oh, they never did decide to review it.
That's a hit for Dominguez, a pinch hit infield single. Barnhart over to third. Now it's Billy Hamilton. Comes around, bats from the left side. He'll get himself a line drive into left here that will produce a run. Nice play out there in left field by Marte. That'll go down as a sacrifice fly. And a run batted in for Hamilton. Billy usually does the taking away, but this time he is robbed of a hit by Marte.
A lot of people talk about this athletic outfield that the Pirates have. Marte, McCutchen, Polanco, they say, are some of the 3 best athletes in all of baseball, all playing in one outfield. That's a dandy catch. Not a whole lot of left fielders out there make that catch.
That
guy gets everything he goes after, it seems like. And Polanco is a youngster, age 23, coming along. He's the youngest guy in the ball game. Polanco is. Followed only by Eugenio Suarez, who's just a couple of months older than Polanco.
All 3 of these guys that you're talking about could play center field if necessary.
Did they leave early? No. The other part of that is that it was a very good play by Tucker Barnhart at third base to make sure he didn't leave early on that.
Here's a look at it.
If you know the fielder's going to catch it, you go back and tag up automatically, but that was unclear as to whether he was going to catch it or not.
Tucker was off the base a couple of steps, then went back and tagged. Reds within a pair now at 7-5. McCutchen and Marte and McCutchen for the second out. Tough time right now with those fly balls, isn't it? Twilight time.
Especially for us up here.
First baseman, Joey Votto.
Votto stands in as the tying run. He's been on all 3 times he's been up there tonight. Bunt single in the first, single to center in the second, reached on the air on the fourth by Alvarez on that scorching liner. Dominguez, that pinch hit infield single, leads away at first, held by Alvarez. Two now from Scahill to Votto. Interesting that neither pitcher will be involved in the decision of this game. Jeff Locke allowed 4 runs, only 2 earned, but 9 hits in 4 innings. But as the starter needs to go 5 to get the win, he only goes 4. Now, if the Pirates maintain their lead, it'll be up to the discretion of the official scorer as to who gets the victory in this game. Reds try to make that a moot point by regaining the advantage. Dominguez will be on the move here on this 3-2 pitch.
Better be.
Off and running he goes. Votto draws the walk, so Joey's been on 4 times. Now the go-ahead run, and Frazier will come to the plate, but he will not face Rob Scahill. Here comes Clint Hurdle out of the dugout. He has seen enough of this right-hander Scahill. Jared Hughes, who was up and throwing earlier, is going to enter the game now for the Pirates. Here he comes sprinting in from the Pirate bullpen. Reds have scored a run, have 2 on with 2 out. New pitcher on is the right-hander Jared Hughes.
Well, he's a workhorse too. He has 63 games last year. He in his now 34th game this year. He throws strikes, 23 strikeouts, and only 6 bases on balls.
He comes on to face Frazier to try to get the last out of this inning. They have 3 pitchers with 30 or more appearances this year, with this guy and their closer Melanson, and then the lefty Tony Watson.
And I would imagine that the Pirates may be in the market to add something to their bullpen right before the trading deadline. Maybe add a fresher arm, because at this rate they're going to burn a couple of them out, you would think.
Harrison fields this ball. They get the force out at second. And the Reds settle for 1 in the 5th and are back within a pair of 75. During Military Appreciation Days, presented by Disabled American Veterans and RetireMed IQ. Purchase the Military Appreciation Day ticket package. Receive a Reds ticket and a pair of Reds aviator sunglasses. With each package purchase, the Reds will donate a percentage of the proceeds back to the DAV. For tickets, visit Reds.com/military. Third pitcher of the game on for the Reds. This is right-hander Carlos Contreras.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be one of those bullpen games. Here we are only in the 5th inning. Third pitcher of the Reds, Josh Smith and Pedro Villarreal. Now Carlos Contreras comes in, 6th game for him. He has pitched really good baseball. Look at the opponent batting average at .063. Averages about 1 inning per appearance.
Only 24 years old. Worked once in the Miami series. That was on Saturday. 1 inning. Scoreless, hitless.
I mean, he got a taste of major leagues for the first time last year. 17 games. Earned run average was up there. He had control problems. He walked nearly as many as innings as he pitched. Control has been pretty much his calling card so far this year. He's only walked a couple, but he's been ahead of a lot of batters.
This one hit hard into left field. Is going to get down. Cut off on the track by Bird. Harrison hustling all the way as in the second with a double. He's 2 for 3. 17th double by Harrison.
We got a pitch up and just laid the wood to it.
Here's Alvarez. Doubled in a run in the 4th. Brian Price was making mention today in his media meeting that thanks to the rain out the other day and the day off yesterday, that the bullpen was in pretty good shape. That won't be the case after this game is over. Belated happy birthday, by the way, to the Reds manager. Yesterday turned 53. This road trip, which will go from Pittsburgh to New York, and it seems like everybody likes to take family to New York, so there are a lot of teams' families on the trip. Not the entire family, but for instance, Brian's wife is here. Some of the other coaches have some family with them, some of the players. See the Big Apple this weekend.
Signing up those credit cards for the Big Apple.
Huh? Your wife is not unfamiliar with that.
She's meeting us in New York.
So the shining is going on as we speak.
Oh, yeah.
She said, "The heck with Pittsburgh. I want the real Macy's, the real Bloomingdale's." About has been very good this limited time up here this year. Finds himself in a hole now. That's 7 walks issued by Reds pitcher. Here's Cervelli, whose big blow back in the 7-run 4th inning tied the game. Out to be the last batter to face the starter, Josh Smith. Really one of the top hitters in the big leagues in the month of May at 377. This is the guy the Pirates were not acquired from the Yankees. And Martin left them as a free agent, signed with Toronto.
Yeah, Russell Martin really left a big hole, both from a team leadership standpoint and from an offensive standpoint. They got a really good offensive catcher here in Cervelli. Part-time player with the Yankees, hit 300 last year. Has never really shown a lot of power. I don't think that even in their wildest dreams that they thought Cervelli would be able to fill the shoes of Martin Platt, but offensively at least, they seem to be on par. Russell Martin was really part of the fiber of this ball club last year. Held the pitching staff together, did such a great job doing that, and they were very concerned with him leaving via free agency, signing with the Blue Jays.
The Reds went up to Montreal to play the exhibition games, and Russell Martin was introduced. Every time he was introduced, he received a standing ovation up in Montreal.
Yeah, of course, he's from the Quebec area, Montreal. In fact, his father, a musician, was a street musician in the subways and on the streets of Montreal.
This will be the first out of the inning. Cervelli is retired by Billy Hamilton.
Jim, I want to go back to something I said about that hit-by-pitch ball. Jose Tamatak got hit by Scherzer pitch. The rule book actually says that a hitter has to make an attempt to get out of the way of the ball. But it is rarely enforced, especially in the major leagues. In fact, one rare time that it was enforced was back in 1968 when Don Drysdale was on his scoreless streak.
Sure.
He was at 44 games. And he hit Dick Dietz with a pitch, and Harry Wendelstedt was behind the plate, and he claimed that Dietz did not attempt to get out of the way, and he called it a ball and not a hit by pitch. Thereby, Dietz ended up making it out, and the streak continued. But the rule book says the hitter must have to try to get out of the way, and in order to be able to be awarded first base. Otherwise, the pitch would be just named the ball.
So that just leads then to the question: do you feel like it should be more enforced, or is it fine the way it is?
Well, that's I think the rules should be enforced. Period. If they're written, they should be enforced the way they're written. Unfortunately, rarely do you ever see at any level an umpire enforce that rule. That if a batter doesn't try, as long as a batter doesn't lean into it, you're going to see the umpire pretty much give him first base hit by pitch.
We talked earlier about the fact that there's so much armor that these guys put on now, they're not afraid to stand in there.
The rule is 6.08 B, where a batter becomes a base runner's awarded first base if he's touched by a pitch ball outside the strike zone and he attempts to avoid it or had no opportunity to avoid it.
We saw that look again at Tabata being hit by Scherzer. He did not appear to get out of the way of that.
He did not.
At all. Bruce charging in. Jay will make the play. And I don't ever recall seeing it enforced in the big leagues or at the minor league level.
Nor do I. A lot of times it seemed like for years that we used to see batters with armor up there actually leaning into pitches.
Yeah.
Ray Biggio was one of the worst offenders of all of doing that, and no one ever really said a thing about it.
Now Jared Hughes will be lifted. Jung-Ho Kang will pitch it. Young man from South Korea has had a pretty good season with his club in his first year here. Pico for the third time tonight is out to the mound. Jared Hughes works 1/3 of an inning. The Pirates will employ a fourth pitcher come the sixth. Archimedes Caminero is throwing in the Pirate bullpen. Well, here's a situation that'll be interesting because, again, if the Pirates hang on and the game doesn't become tied or the Reds take the lead, and you're the official scorer, and you're looking to give the victory here. Rob Scahill went 2/3 of an inning, gave up a run. Jared Hughes went 1/3 of an inning. I don't know that you say based on their performance that they would get the victory in this game.
Well, that's at the discretion of the scorer, though.
Right.
I may just happen to call Ron Roth and Mike Cameron, the official scorers for the Reds, who get it right more often than they ever get it wrong, and see what they think about this.
During the last homestand, we had some interesting discussions with Ron about some plays that had occurred. Good thing about Ron, one of the many good things, is he is willing to sit there and discuss them with you as long as you want to talk about it. Or until the game's about to begin.
Or until the ice cream machine breaks.
Let's see, why'd you have to throw that in there?
He was my old amateur coach. I owe him a few. Good baseball man, he really is. Reds have done a tremendous job over the years with their official scorers. Guys are just really dedicated to get the call right.
No doubt about it. Down on the field prior to the game, Chris, talking with some Korean reporters. A young man who goes to college here in Pittsburgh and a young lady who came over from South Korea, reporting on Gung and also doing some things on Chu, the former Red. A discussion about broadcasting on radio and television and the work that they are doing. He is basically a translator for the young lady who doesn't speak much English. She's a writer, reporter, photographer. They were very interested in how we Americans cover the game.
most a dandy bit of hitting.
Young is 28 years old, from South Korea. You can see the spelling of his name is nothing like it sounds. Pronounced Gung, spelled Kang. Nine years a professional in Korean baseball before coming over here. All third strike there puts an end to the bottom of the 5th inning. Pirates leave a couple.
Sports Ohio. The rivalry continues with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and boy, there's a lot of history between these two teams. And back in the day, the two teams had very similar stadiums, Riverfront Stadium and Three Rivers Stadium. Let's check out another all-star moment tonight as we count down to the all-star game in Cincinnati. 65th all-star game, and the second and final one held at Three Rivers Stadium in 1994. Fred McGriff hit a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 9th to tie the game. And then Moises Alou won it for the National League in the 10th with an RBI double, scoring Tony Gwynn. It snapped a 6-game losing streak to the American League at the time. Fred McGriff was named the game's most valuable player. The final All-Star game held at what they called one of those cookie-cutter stadiums, Three Rivers Stadium.
Fred McGriff. Now there's a guy, at least in my opinion, who belongs in the Hall of Fame. 492 or 93.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Bruce shoots one to the alley in right center field, carrying well and out of here. The first pitch by Caminero. Bruce takes him deep, and the Reds are back within a run. Jay gets number 12.
I'll tell you what, he is swinging a hot bat, Bruce is. He's had a couple of hits on a night. Second ribby. And he doesn't wait long because Caminero could really get it up there. He averages anywhere from 96 to 98 on that fastball. This one at 97. And just a little bit above the knees on the outer part of the plate. Bruce Johnson. That guy's some kind of strong.
And here are the Reds back within a run at 7-6. Caminero acquired from the Marlins in the offseason. 1 pitch, 1 home run, a 1-run game. And Jim Day was talking about Three Rivers Stadium. Harrison makes a nice play to throw out Bird. That's not far. Its location from here is at Point Park, which is down the river here out in beyond right field, to the point where the Allegheny and Monongahela meet, forming the Ohio. That's where the ballpark was located.
Yeah.
thus Three Rivers. And I guess if there were two of those cookie cutters that were almost identical, it would have been Three Rivers and Riverfront Stadium.
Yeah, you have to throw Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia into the mix. Busch Stadium in St. Louis, a little different, but still along the cookie cutter type of multi-purpose line.
That home run by Bruce, the first given up in some 65 innings worth of work by the Pirates. We talked earlier about the fact that they came into this game having given up only 42 home runs, the fewest in the big leagues. Into right for Suarez. He has himself his second hit of the night. So coming off a 3-hit game on Sunday against the Marlins, multi-hit game here tonight for Suarez.
Well, one of the differences that Three Rivers Stadium had, other than Riverfront Stadium, the dugouts, you would go down the steps into the dugout, just like you do in dugouts everywhere in baseball now, with the exception, I think, of maybe Oakland. But I think you do go down in Oakland. But Three Rivers was on field level. They had benches, and then they made some dugouts, but it was right at field level, and you were right on top of the field. I mean, you could hear the umpire and the catcher talk from the dugouts.
Now, the ones at Riverfront weren't very deep. They were just like one step or so, though, but they were down, right?
Just enough to trip on when you were coming off the field.
I take it that happened to you maybe once or twice. Well, those were some interesting designs back in the 70s, those cookie cutters.
Yeah.
They all had the artificial turf.
Some awful good times at that Riverfront Stadium now. I mean, years and years of awful good times.
A lot of good baseball played there.
The electricity. Walking over the pedestrian bridge, you get to the ballpark, just knowing that your Reds are going to hammer whoever was in town.
Those were the days when they had that artificial turf, play those day games, and players would come in and stand in a bucket of ice to cool off their feet.
You're right.
Talked to Doug Flynn about that a lot.
It would melt the spikes.
Yeah.
I mean, the
rubber on the bottom of the shoe.
Pretty good pitch there. Caminero is a guy, as you said, acquired in a trade, and the Marlins had him, and he was wild. He had a big wild delivery. The Pirates, you know, Ray Searage, the pitching coach, gets a lot of credit, but there's a guy in the minor leagues who is their minor league pitching guru named Jim Benedict, who is a real mechanics guy, and he has helped almost every one of these Pirates who have needed some help along the way, resurgence, remold, rebuild. And Caminero is a guy that has really benefited from the tutoring of Jim Benedict. Benedict is down in the minor leagues. I think he stays most of the time down in Bradenton, Florida. But he and Ray Searage work hand in hand. Benedict handles most of the mechanical stuff and technical stuff on the pitcher, and Searage handles a lot of what's going on between the ears. And at the major league level, that's probably the most important thing.
Christopher Negron pinch hitting now for Contreras. Tying run aboard with 2 out. Negron didn't see any playing time in the Marlins series. He come in hitting only 143 with 2 RBIs. 0 for 4 as a pinch hitter. Suarez represents the tying run at first. Things have not gone as well, certainly offensively this year, for Negron as they did a year ago when he got his first opportunity at some extensive playing time. He hit .271 and 144 at bats last year. This year hitting just .143. Last year had 6 home runs, 17 RBIs. This year no long balls and only 2 runs batted in. Trying to solve Caminero here. Lines it just foul past first base. That was close. They'll have to come back and do it again.
Well, he could use that one.
2 out and a runner on the move. That may have chased Suarez home to tie the game. Do it again at 1 ball, 2 strikes to Negron with a run in on the Bruce home run, his 12th. Suarez second hit. He leads away at first with 2 out. Another new pitcher will come on for the Reds. That one got away from Cervelli, and the tying run is in scoring position. Nate Adcock has been throwing in the Reds bullpen. Charge Caminero with a wild pitch. Now a little old hit by Negron. Get this run home. Reds in this game 4 for 14. Runners in scoring position. They've had a lot of chances tonight. Left 10 men on. Strike 3 called. Reds still down a run. Jay Bruce made it a 1-run game with his 12th of the year. 7-6 in the middle of the 6th inning. Gather in Cincinnati for the Midsummer Classic with home field advantage for the World Series on the line. Coverage of the 2015 MLB All-Star Game begins July the 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Voting continues, of course, for the All-Star Game. Joey Votto has moved into 3rd place now in All-Star voting for 1st place. Back in the top 5 for the first time since late May. That voting continues again through July the 2nd. Votto behind Paul Goldschmidt and Adrian Gonzalez. Almost 2.5 million votes. Talked about Frazier moving into 2nd place for third base. Votto has moved ahead now of the injured Matt Adams and ahead of Anthony Rizzo at 1st base. Continue to vote. Vote often. You can vote up to 35 times. Easy enough at Reds.com. New pitcher on is Nate Adcock. 4th of this game for the Reds. Josh Smith 3+ innings has major league debut. Pedro Villarreal won, Carlos Contreras won, and now Adcock. All four of these pitchers have had time at AAA Louisville this year. Adcock, the Kentucky native, he's fallen behind 3-0.
Well, the Reds pitchers, for some reason, are having a hard time finding the strike zone here at PNC Park. Adcock, first time with the Reds around. He's in his 5th ball game with the Reds. He's had some big league time. He came up with Kansas City in 2011 and 12. 36 games over those 2 seasons, covering nearly 100 innings, all out of the bullpen except for 5 starts.
He issues a 4-pitch walk to Polanco to start the bottom of the 6th.
Well, the problem now is that it's a 1-run ball game. Polanco's got wheels, so that puts Tucker Barnhart on alert.
Polanco thought he had stolen a base in the 3rd inning. Great video work by Rob Coughlin. Informed Brian Price they should look at it. It was looked at, and it was overturned. Great work by the video person of the Reds, Rob Coughlin. Polanco was then deemed as have been caught stealing. 5 pitches, 5 out of the zone by Nate Adcock.
You know, not only the Pirates have a very athletic outfield, but their outfielders bat 1, 2, 3 in the batting order. Don't think there's another team around that does that. They're also the only team that have 2 outfielders with 40+ runs batted in. Marte has 45. McCutchen has 44.
Marte in this game has walked, struck out, reached on the very costly error at shortstop by Eugenio Suarez back in the 7-run 4th. Led to 3 unearned runs in that inning against Pedro Villarreal.
Pitch out right there. Reds think they may have sniffed something out. Got to be careful pitching out when you've got a pitcher having a hard time throwing the ball over the plate.
He's going. Throw is on the wrong side of the bag, and a steal this time from Polanco is number 18. Polanco moving now into a tie for 3rd with Ben Revere of the Phillies. National League stolen base numbers. Now the Reds are going to challenge this, it appears. Are they able to turn this over earlier on a stolen base by Polanco? Could Rob Coughlin have caught another one?
That didn't even look all that close.
No, it did not.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Reds are...
It looked like the runner beat the throw with no problem, the throw being on the other side of the bag. But the question is, did he go past the bag after he hit it the first time? He's safe there. Now, do you have the tag on him while he maybe bounces off the bag? Looks like his left leg goes over the bag. His right leg not in contact yet, and he reaches down to touch just about the same time or a moment after Brandon Phillips applies a backup tag.
That's right there where I think Rob thinks they got him, because his foot popped off the bag ever so slightly as Phillips put on the tag. This will be interesting.
Well, that's a heads-up play by Coughlin.
We saw that last replay. Is at the bottom of the screen. It looked as if Polanco's foot, as he had that pop-up slide, came off the base momentarily, just as Phillips was putting the tag on.
Yeah, this is deja vu all over again for Gregory Polanco, because he was standing out there at second base in the third inning thinking he had a stolen base, only to be called out upon further review.
It's being scrutinized back in New York. This isn't a gimme for sure. Another look at it. There's the pop-up right there. They call him out. How about that? Is that extraordinary work by Rob Coughlin? That is really, really good work by the Reds video.
Somebody owes that guy a steak dinner.
You bet. 2 times in this game, Gregory Polanco appears as if he had a steal, and 2 times it's been overturned. Here's the look at it.
Also
right
a
there.
heads-up play for Brandon Phillips. How many times do you see a guy slap a tag down and pull it back up in order to win maybe some style points? But that time Phillips keeps the tag on him, and he bounces way into an out.
Same guy 2 times. Chris Conroy twice has been overturned as the second base umpire. Let's hope Adcock can take advantage of that. Polanco had been only caught stealing 4 times all year going into tonight. Twice in 2 attempts here this evening. Thought he had steals, but video overturned on him. He go right on a 3-2 pitch. Jay handles it 2 out. And now for our T-Mobile game changer, Andrew McCutchen. What he did against the Reds early in his career versus what he has done the last 2 years. That averages over 100 percentage points higher. He has matured quite well for the Pirates.
You know, we were drawing comparisons between McCutchen and Jay Bruce only because they were out of high school the same year, drafted within 1 player of each other. This one just gets away from Adcock. But watch McCutchen at the very end.
A little push-up action.
You gotta love it.
That's something right there.
I think the other thing that is interesting in comparison between Bruce and McCutchen is the fact that they're each nearing the end of 6-year contracts, long-term deals that were given to them by their respective team when they were young players, of almost identical money.
That ball scorched into left center field, and McCutchen going to try to get a pair out of this. Going to be close, and he is in there. Team leading 18th double.
McCutchen's not getting off that bag as long as Brandon's got the ball. tell you, that's not a double for everybody.
Brandon going to hold that ball right there. McCutcheon said, you can hold it as long as you want. I'm not going anywhere. That's a ball that was hit so hard it looked like it was knuckling out in the left center. Now it's Neil Walker. Suarez will throw out Walker. And that ends the bottom of the 6th inning. The Reds against Jeff Long. A base hit here by Bruce. Part of a 3-run first for Cincinnati. In fact, they had the early advantage in this game, but the Pirates came charging back. 3-run homer by Francisco Cervelli tied the game at 4. And a 2-run homer by Andrew McCutcheon capped a 7-run Pirate 4th inning to make it 7-4. Reds get a run in the 5th, and then that home run ball by Jay Bruce, his 12th of the year in the 6th. And the Reds back with a run at 7-6 here in the 7th. Tonight's Honda game summary. Archimedes Caminero gave up a run. The home run by Bruce in the 6th goes back to work here in the 7th. He's hit by Billy Hamilton, and the Reds get the tying run on to start the 7th inning. I want to go back and correct something I said regarding Three Rivers Stadium. I said it was at Point Park. No less an expert than our good friend, post-game producer Kent Dreamweaver, who grew up in this area. Used to go to a lot of games at Three Rivers Stadium. Said it wasn't exactly at Point Park. It was in the parking lot between this ballpark and Heinz Field across from Point Park. Heinz Field is right next to this park. That's where the Steelers play. So across from Point Park, not at Point Park.
Glad to know the Dream is watching.
Well, he's preparing for the postgame. Billy ended that 6-game drought without a steal earlier. Stole a base back in the 4th. His league leading 32nd. Big league leading 32nd. He's had a multi-hit game tonight. Reds have doubled up the Pirates hit-wise, 14-7. Trail by a run. Most hits now that the Reds have picked up in a game this year, these 14. Really edging off that bag down there.
Well, the Reds feel that this combination of Caminero and Cervelli behind the plate is pretty good as far as Billy Hamilton's chances of getting a stolen base. Cervelli has given up 44. He's thrown out 11. That is an 80% success rate of stolen base attempts.
There goes Billy. That is a
foul ball.
Yeah, the home plate umpire looked like he was calling that a foul ball. Didn't it?
Oh, no, I guess it was not a foul ball. I think what he was saying is that there was no interference on the part or obstruction on the part of either batter or catcher. That it was what they would call, umpires would call that a tangle untangle.
Take a better angle at it right here. Okay.
Foul ball is actually hands up in the air, straight up, almost like a field goal. And that safe sign means that there's no infraction either defensively or offensively by batter or catcher.
What that does is move Hamilton into scoring position for Votto. Reds led 4-0 in the middle of the 4th in this game. Pirates scored 7 in the bottom of the 4th, largest inning against the Reds this year. Reds have battled back, a run in the 5th, a run on the Bruce home run in the 6th. Down now by 1 as Votto bats with a runner in scoring position, 1 out. Hamilton going to 3rd, and the throw is late. Number 33 for Billy Hamilton.
I don't think there's ever been a base runner, a really good base runner, who would ever say that third base is not an easier base to steal than second base. Well, you would think this would be a perfect spot for Joey Votto.
And you say that why?
You bring the infield in, he's a 300 hitter. You make a 300 hitter a 500 hitter by bringing the infield in like that.
Now going back to your comment about Billy stealing 3rd.
Oh, because you don't really have anybody holding them on, and most pitchers don't have a good move to second. And Caminero just cranks it up a couple of notches and blows Votto away.
Frazier gets the opportunity with Hamilton at third base. Now going back to what you were talking about with Billy stealing third, or any runner trying to steal third, made a little bit tougher by the fact that there was a left-handed batter at the plate. Thus he's got that clean alley, does the catcher, to throw to third. He can see him, there's no blockage, and yet
well, you're still oftentimes trying to hit a fielder on the run and the third baseman.
Sure.
Sometimes he doesn't get there till late. The runner oftentimes has a walking lead from second base. No matter how many times pitching coaches tell the pitcher, make the guy stop, they rarely make him stop. And shortstops and second basemen are reluctant to leave their position defensively to hold a guy on. Sometimes you'll see the second baseman up there holding them on tight if the run is a winning run or a real pivotal run late in the game. But most good base runners always told me it's a lot easier to steal third than second.
And Manero came right at Votto, got him. Now he's coming at Frazier, and he's ahead 1 ball, 2 strikes. Reds left the tying run at second in the 6th. Left a runner on in the 5th. Have the tying run at third here in the 7th. Frazier with a line drive in the left, and that ball is caught by Starling Marte. That is twice tonight. He has made spectacular defensive plays out in left field. Great defensive work out in left by Starling Marte.
Second time tonight he has robbed the Reds player. He got Billy Hamilton earlier in the ball game. Also caught a nice line drive off the bat of Josh Smith. And Frazier right there can't believe that ball did not fall in for a base hit.
Tonight 1 for 4. Another Reds ask Nate Adcock to keep it a 1-run game. Walked the batter, gave up a double in the 6th inning. Helped by the video replay and subsequent overturn of the call at second base on the Polanco steal. Back he goes out there in the 7th.
You know, sometimes corner outfield defense might be overrated. I mean, that is, if you've got a guy that's driving in more than he's giving up, that's what you oftentimes see, especially in left field. Boy, but when you see the way that they play it here, with the plays that Starling Marte have made tonight, those games have had a direct impact on this ball game, or those fielding plays that he has fielded, a direct impact.
Pirates now have action in their bullpen. One of their two left-handers, Tony Watson, is throwing. Josh Harrison doubled in the 5th. Single, later scored back in the 4th. He's 2 out of 3. Suarez. And the leadoff man gone here in the 7th. Celebrate 4th of July weekend at the ballpark. It's on your Reds when they take on the Milwaukee Brewers. And stick around after the game for a special 4th of July fireworks show brought to you by the Missouri Division of Tourism. Purchase your 4th of July tickets today. You can call 513-381-REDS. You can visit select Kroger locations or go to reds.com/tickets. It's a 3-game series against the Milwaukee club. 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Night game, day game. Suarez on the shift there actually makes the play on this first base side of second base. Play goes 6-3 on the right side of the infield. 2 outs. Neither team has gone down in order in this game tonight. Reds 7 times. Pirates 6 times so far. Now Cervelli back with 2 men out, nobody on against Adcock. The Reds have left a dozen men on tonight. Had some golden opportunities to add to their lead early. Get back in this game with a hit here or there. They're 4 for 17 with the runners in scoring position tonight. Season high for left on base is 13. 2 innings worth of at bats left, trailing now by a run at 7-6. One ball now, 2 strikes. Second game of this series tomorrow night will feature Mike Leake against Garrett Cole. Thursday night, Anthony DeSclafani against A.J. Burnett. We were talking earlier about the fact that those two have been the heart and soul of this Pirates starting rotation. You have Cole second in the league in ERA at 1.78. You have Burnett 5th at 2.05. Max Scherzer the top at 1.76. Then Cole, then Zach Greinke, Shelby Miller, the former Cardinal, now with Atlanta, and then A.J. Burnett. So 2 of the top 5 in this Pirates rotation, and now those 2 are whom the Reds will see tomorrow and Thursday night. Pirates getting Charlie Morton back, and other than that game on Sunday against the Nationals, he got hit around hard. He had been 5-0 prior to that. Morton came back. Vance Worley went to the bullpen. Pirates came into this game with a 2.88 team ERA. Pitching has been their calling card. Garrett Cole tomorrow night. 11 wins so far this year. One of the top performers certainly in the National League and in all of Major League Baseball. His 11 wins leads the league.
Garrett Cole has the distinction of being one of those pitchers, and a rare thing, really, baseball player overall, not only pitcher, who was drafted not once but twice in the first round.
Yeah.
Drafted by the Yankees out of high school, decided not to go, ended up going to UCLA. Boy, he has gotten so clean down there at third base.
There's the first 1-2-3 inning of this game, and it's turned in by Nate Adcock here in the bottom of the seventh. Yeah, this has been a back and forth affair. 4-0 Reds, 7-4 Pirates, 7-5, 7-6. Reds have had golden opportunities and still have some hopefully left in them as Watson enters the game.
I'll tell you what, really the last 3 years he has been lights out. You can go back to 4 years. He didn't break into the major leagues until he was 26 years old. He is now 30. At the University of Nebraska did Tony Watson, and he is the go-to guy, the setup man here in Pittsburgh.
Bruce who homered on the first pitch he saw from Archimedes Caminero back in the 6th inning. A couple of hits tonight, a couple of RBIs. Double change made by the Pirates with Watson entering. Sean Rodriguez takes over for Pedro Alvarez at first base. He's in the 9th spot in the order, so he'll be due up second in the bottom of the 8th. Jay's home run is 12th of the year. Made it a 1-run game. Led off the 6th inning. It's one of those no-doubters by Bruce. Lefty-lefty matchup here, and Watson gets the better of it.
Now, Watson is about as good as he gets when it comes to left-handed setup men. I mean, Bruce's left-handers, he had one swing at this, and it really wasn't a good swing at all on this at bat. And 94 on the corner. What do you do? Not a whole lot.
So Bruce gone. The batter now is Marlon Byrd. Bruce now 1 for 18 lifetime against Tony Watson. He really has had his number. Bird, of course, had that time with the Pirates here at the end of the 2013 season. Did a very good job for them. Played in that wild card playoff game for the Pirates against the Reds. He had been with the Mets and having a pretty good year that year. Hit over 300 in 30 games. 17 RBIs with the Pirates at the end of the year. They had brought over Justin Morneau to play first. They brought Bird over to play right field. Morneau didn't do very much. Bird helped them a lot. And the Philadelphia last year, now the Reds this year. Interesting conversation there. You've got a guy who never gives up stolen bases talking to a guy who is the leader in stolen bases. Down goes Bird on strike. So here's Suarez. Mentioned he had a 3-hit game on Sunday against the Marlins. 2 hits so far tonight. He had 3 3-hit games as a member of the Tigers last year. Looking for a second straight as a member of the Reds. Started the game at 258. His number now at 286.
Now this is a pretty good 1-2 punch at the end of the game for Clint Hurdle. He's got Mark Melanson, who's the closer with a 1.8 earned run average. Watson is about as good as it gets when it comes to setup man. He's got a 1.7. Melanson is 23 of 24 in saves. The only save opportunity Watson has had, he converted. 3 quality pitches. He misses there with the changeup.
Got it. Reds going over for the first time. Strikeout, strikeout, strikeout by Watson in the middle of the 8th. 5th, as part of Family Sundays, kids 14 and younger receive a Brandon Phillips poster presented by Meyer. Plus, make sure you take advantage of special family ticket offers and enjoy live mascot races, face painters, games, and much more. For tickets, you can call 513-381-RED. You can visit select Kroger locations, or you can go to reds.com/family. New man into the game for the Reds. Hasn't pitched in a while. Ryan Matthews is on.
He is the 5th pitcher of the night for the Reds. The Pirates have only scored in 1 inning, and they scored 7 in the inning in which they did. That was the 4th. Other than that, pretty good relief work done by all of the relievers. Villarreal got tagged for 3 runs. None of those runs would be of the earned variety, all of them unearned. Contreras, an inning of shutout baseball. Nate Adcock, 2 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball. And now Matthews. Game number 17 for Matthews.
Done pretty good work since he came over from the Angels. Ryan Matthews, as mentioned, he hasn't worked since the 17th, so it's been better part of a week since he threw an inning against Detroit. It turned out to be the lone game at home against the Tigers. It was in that 8-4 win and rained out the next day. Phillips to his left. And he'll make the play for retired Jordy Mercer. Now Sean Rodriguez. He came on playing first base as part of the double switch when Tony Watson came into the game. Hitting .270 on the year with 3 home runs. 0 for 6 coming off the bench, although he's technically not doing that here as he played defense first. Rodriguez is rung out on 4 pitches, so good work there by Matthews. Saturday, Baseball Night in America returns as the Cubs renew their rivalry with the Cardinals. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on Fox, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Cubs and the Cardinals Saturday. Top of the order now, and Gregory Polanco against Matthews. Polanco in this game been on 3 times, been caught stealing twice, both on overturned video reviews. Struck out to start the first inning against the rookie right-hander Josh Smith. The first batter Smith faced in his big league career. He allowed 4 runs, 3 hits, and 3+ innings to Josh Smith, but he walked uncharacteristically 6 in the game. Phillips will throw out Polanco. Back-to-back 1, 2, 3 innings by the Reds. And so here we go now to the top of the 9th. Reds down a run. Astros like him. Every game with Reds Live here on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Tomorrow night at 6:30 prior to the 7:05 game. Great pitching matchup tomorrow night. Garrett Cole against Mike Leake. These two hooked up back on May the 6th. With the Reds winning that game 3-0. And since that time, Garrett Cole has not lost a game. 1.46 ERA. There he is with a league best 11 wins. Second best ERA in the league at 178. That's tomorrow night, game 2 of this series. 6:30 Reds Live. 7:05 first pitch. PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, Mark Melancon, 23 for 24 in save opportunities, will come on to try to save this game. For who? Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, what you're seeing in Mark Melancon is somewhat of an unusual closer. A guy with a fastball that hovers right around 90 miles an hour. He gets it up maybe 92 at the most. He doesn't throw very many of those at all. In fact, he only throws about 6% fastballs. He throws a lot of cutters. He's got a natural cut on his pitch, and that'll be a ball that will run into a left-hander away from a right-hander. His next favorite pitch is a curve. And that's really about it. Cutter curveball for Melancon. And he's been awfully good closing out games for the Pirates.
Reds will send up Tucker Barnhart to lead things off. Then a pinch hitter. Then Billy Hamilton. Skip Schumacher waits on deck. Again, Melancon 23 of 24 this year for the Pirates. He, in fact, with his 23 saves, leads the National League in that department, 2 ahead of Trevor Rosenthal of the Cardinals. Tucker Barnhart finds himself in the hole, 0-2. Tucker hit a double back in the 5th. Trying to get something started here in the 9th.
There's the curveball right there for Melancon. You know, he spent the first couple of years, or parts of, he had some cups of coffee with the Yankees back in 2009 and 2010. And on that team, of course, was Mariano Rivera. In 2009, Rivera had 44 saves and 46 opportunities. And you had to figure that watching Rivera every night, it had to have an influence on Melancon. Curveball, he thinks he's counted off, but he's not getting the break. Looks like he holds that curveball grip with a spiked finger grip, where he kind of pushes the fingernail of his index finger into the seam, or into the baseball itself, and then holds the baseball around the seam and fires up the curveball that way. Some people call it a knuckle curve. It's really a spiked curve.
Schumacher now will bat for Matthews. Melancon, 21 consecutive saves converted. His only blown save of the year back on April the 21 here against the Cubs. Hasn't allowed a run since the Phillies touched him up for 1 run on May the 11th in Philly. So he has been very, very effective this year.
Well, look at that ball just kind of pour right in on a lefty.
Schumacher here in the 9th inning trying to get something going. He's been a very good pinch hitter. 8 for 25 this year for the Reds. Overall at .229. Billy Hamilton waits on deck. Somebody can get on the top of the order featuring Phillips.
Each of the last 5 outs recorded by Pittsburgh Pirates pitching have been by strikeout. Tony Watson struck out the side, and Melancon's got 1 to go.
Billy Hamilton led off the 7th with a single to center. Since then, 8 straight have been set down. As Chris mentioned, 6 by strikeout. 9 of the last 11 by strikeout. Here's Billy, who's not struck out tonight, trying to keep this game going.
That might be the worst thing about a cutter to a left-handed hitter. It comes right in on your hands, and if you get it low enough and you hit the top of the ball, you're almost assuredly bound to hit it off one of your puppies.
It looked like it went right off the top of his foot right there. Corners in, guarding the lines. Rodriguez at first. Harrison over at third. Looking for his 22nd straight save is Melancon, and now it's ahead of Hamilton, 2 strikes. Breaking ball in the dirt that Hamilton strikes out on. The last 6 go down on strikes for the Reds, and the Pirates hang on thanks to a 7-run 4th inning. And they defeat the Reds in the first game of this series. 7-6 the final score. Melancon gets the save, his 24th of the year. The Pirates snap a 3-game losing streak. They go to 10 games over at 40 and 30 on the year. We'll come back with more from Pittsburgh after this.